Chapter 460. Yuan soon looked at Su Kong and said in a low voice, "If you're right, I'll promote you to Imperial Noble Consort." He didn't believe Zhuang Qiong was capable of that. What was written on the note she just exchanged with Su Kong? It was Su Kong's behavior just now. There was clearly something fishy going on. Anyone with a bit of intelligence wouldn't believe it. Who cares about your noble consort? If I'm right, you can make me a state preceptor. I won't be your consort anymore. State preceptor? How can a woman be a state preceptor? Is Yun Jieyu really not a monster? Even if Yun Jieyu isn't a monster, she must have been possessed. That's right. How can a woman be a state preceptor? Yuan Sun clearly hadn't expected Shi Shang to make such a request. State preceptors always had a high status and had to be powerful. However, they didn't have any real power. It was a pretty but impractical position. And a woman becoming a state preceptor? Really, there wasn't one. However, what she'd done just now made Yuan Sun hesitate. All right, I promise you. He didn't believe that this woman had such great ability. He wanted to see what she was trying to do by pretending to be mysterious. Your Majesty, you can't. Your Majesty, how can you agree to her request? Yun Jie, you must be possessed. Your Majesty. Enough. We'll see the results in 10 days, Yuan Sun shouted. Today was supposed to be an investigation into the person who'd poisoned his son. Who knew this would happen? Then here's the problem. How should we deal with Consort Shu? Put Consort Shu under house arrest. We'll discuss it later. Your Majesty, it wasn't this consort. It was this monster who framed me. Consort Shu snapped out of her daze and grabbed Yuan Sun's arm. Your Majesty, please believe me. It really wasn't me. Yuan Sun pushed Consort Shu away. Take Consort Shu back to the palace. Shao He was also taken away. This matter couldn't be settled so easily. Send Yun Jieyu back to the palace. Yuan Sun looked at Shi Shang. Stay in the palace for the next 10 days. That won't do. I'm a monster. I have to eat people, Shi Shang replied seriously. Yuan Sun, someone come. Drag this woman out and behead her. 10 days later, he would endure for another 10 days and kill her in 10 days. It didn't matter if she was a substitute or possessed. Death was the end of it. Yuan Sun was so angry that he couldn't think straight. He left with his men in a huff. Ming Jin had already left before Yuan Sun, but before he left, he gave Shi Shang a meaningful look. Lu Ruo lagged behind. She dawdled for a long time until almost everyone in the main hall had left before she walked into the Shi Shang. Just now, Lu Ruo did not show her face. Now that she suddenly appeared, there was something fishy. Lu Ruo seemed to be afraid of being overheard and lowered her voice. You have a space, right? Shi Shang raised his eyebrows slightly. She hadn't avoided anyone when she'd taken out her sword. Yuan Sun must have been so angry that he hadn't thought of it. Of course, even if he had, he wouldn't have understood. As for the others, they definitely didn't understand such a mysterious thing as space. The only one who had a concept of space was the female lead from the modern era. It's none of your business. Shi Shang snorted arrogantly and left, dragging his long sword. Su Kong, who had not left, quickly caught up with Shi Shang. Lu Ruo frowned. Her reaction meant that she had one? Spaces in novels were awesome. She hadn't expected to encounter one. System, can I have a space? Lu Ruo asked the system excitedly. No. The system paused. But if you can help me level up to a certain level, I can share the system space with you. Lu Ruo's eyes brightened. What level do I have to level up to? At least level 5. Lu Ruo's face darkened. She was only level 1 now. Who knew when she'd reach level 5? Yuan Sun wasn't someone she could sleep with just because she wanted to. Is there no other way? Lu Ruo didn't want to stay in this world at all. It was too scary. If she wasn't careful, she'd be beheaded. She felt like she was walking on thin ice. She was careful, but she could still break it. The system was silent for a moment. Devour the energy of your own kind. Devour the energy of your own kind? Is it the same system as you? Yes. Lu Ruo's eyes turned. You mean Yun Jieyu? I'm not sure, but she definitely has energy that can help me level up. I felt it just now. Shi Shang walked out of the hall and was welcomed by Tao Qin. Seeing that Shi Shang was unharmed, she sighed in relief. You scared this servant to death. Did His Majesty do anything to you? What would he dare do to me? Shi Shang's gaze swept across the darkness in the distance. Let's return to the palace. Sir Ming told me to pass this to you just now. Tao Qin took advantage of the time to support Shi Shang to pass a brocade pouch from her sleeve to him. Her face was a bit red, but it was too dark to see. Shi Shang squeezed it. It was a bit hard. Just as he was about to take it out for a look, Su Kong caught up from behind. Imperial Consort. Great Master Su Kong. Tao Qin bowed slightly, reminding Su Kong, don't call her by the wrong name. Our mistress isn't Imperial Consort now. Su Kong exclaimed in surprise. It took him a while to remember that they seemed to be calling her Yun Jieyu. She was demoted. When did this happen? Su Kong was a bit confused. He hadn't been in the capital recently, so he hadn't had time to inquire about what happened in the capital. What's more, he couldn't casually inquire about the matters of the imperial harem. Imperial Consort. Su Kong folded his arms. What you said before. I'm poor now. Su Kong. What happened to the promised money? The dignified daughter of the Zhuang family, the former imperial consort, was poor? He didn't believe it. Su Kong's face was bitter. Imperial consort, you can't be like this. This commoner earns money through hard work. Shi Shang nodded in agreement. It's really hard to deceive people. Su Kong. He was just trying to make a living. Was it easy? Imperial consort, then when is it convenient for you to settle the bill? He had risked being beheaded to help her. However, the Emperor's reaction was a bit strange. He'd better take the money and run. He couldn't stay here any longer. At that time, he didn't know why he was intimidated by her. Otherwise, he would never help her deceive the Emperor. If he left here, it wouldn't be easy for him to earn money. He might even be wanted. Su Kong felt that he had boarded a pirate ship that he couldn't get off. Shi Shang pondered. Wait until I become the state preceptor. Su Kong was dumbfounded. Imperial consort. Is what you said just now true? Was there really going to be a rainstorm? Was there really going to be a flood? Was there really going to be a plague? Su Kong thought that this was just Shi Shang's delaying tactic. Do I look like I'm joking? Su Kong took a few bold glances under the faint light beside him. You don't look like it. Imperial consort, do you really have the ability? Shi Shang kept it a secret. Haven't you already experienced it? Su Kong, Tao Qin. What were Master and Master Su Kong talking about? Why couldn't she understand? Chapter 461. Shi Shang dismissed the dumbfounded Su Kong. When she returned to her quarters, she took out the brocade pouch Ming Jin had given her. The pouch was green, but it was embroidered with a dragon-shaped pattern. What the hell? This Ming Jin was very arrogant. He actually dared to use a brocade pouch with such a pattern. Shi Shang opened the pouch. There was a jade pendant and a small slip of paper inside. On it was written, "A token of love." My God! He even dared to flirt with the Emperor's concubine. Shi Shang took the jade pendant and looked at it. It looked quite valuable. Tao Qin. Master. Tao Qin was making the bed when she heard Shi Shang call her. She immediately jogged over. Give this to Su Kong. Settle the bill and we're even. Master, it's Master Su Kong, Tao Qin corrected. Whatever. Hurry and go. Tao Qin had never seen this jade pendant before and was somewhat curious. However, Shi Shang had told her to give it to Master Su Kong, so she didn't dare delay. The road out of the palace was very long. If she chased after him now, she should be able to catch up. Ming Jin walked out of Yongxin Palace. The bright moonlight cast a long shadow on his figure, which overlapped with the swaying shadows around him, making him appear somewhat sinister. "Master, you were too impulsive just now." The youth draped a cloak over Ming Jin and spoke in a low voice. Master had actually spoken up for Yun Jieyu just now. Wouldn't this make the emperor suspicious of them? Ming Jin gathered the cloak around him. The night breeze brushed past his cheeks, causing his fine black hair to flutter. His voice was scattered by the night breeze. "It's a waste of youth if one isn't impulsive. Master, don't forget." "Ji Yuan," Ming Jin softly interrupted him. Ji Yuan knew he'd misspoken. This was the palace, and a single wrong word could bring disaster upon them. The palace was silent in the middle of the night. Ming Jin slowly walked out of the palace. Ji Yuan gave the imperial guards money and had them open the door for them. "Wait, wait." Void rushed out from the darkness. When he was in front of them, he slowed down his pace and strode out in front of the imperial guards with his head held high. The palace doors closed with a heavy thud. Su Kong greeted Ming Jin. "Sir Ming, what a coincidence." Ming Jin nodded slightly, but his gaze suddenly paused. "Why is Master's jade pendant with you?" Ji Yuan took the initiative to strike first and rushed over to grab the jade pendant in Su Kong's hand. Kong Su tightened his grip on the jade pendant. "This was given to me by Yun Jieyu." "Why is it your master's?" "Yun Jieyu." Ji Yuan froze for a moment, then flew into a rage. "Nonsense. How could Master's jade pendant be with Jieyu?" The two of them each held onto one end of the jade pendant, neither of them willing to let go. Ming Jin took out a stack of banknotes from his sleeve and handed it to Su Kong. "I'll give you banknotes in exchange." Seeing the banknotes, Emptiness's eyes lit up. He took the banknotes and looked at the amount before returning the jade pendant to Ji Yuan with a smile. "Since it belongs to young Master Ming, I'll return it to young Master Ming." "You." His master had to use money to redeem his own things, and this stinky Taoist actually dared to say that he would return them to his master after redeeming them. "It's getting late. I'll take my leave first." Void pinched the banknotes and ran away quickly. He had to leave this troublesome place quickly. "Master." Ji Yuan wiped the jade pendant clean and handed it to Ming Jin. "This jade pendant? Why was it with Jieyu?" "I gave it to her." Ming Jin sighed. "Unfortunately, she didn't want it." "Master, don't mess around. How could you give this jade pendant to Jieyu?" "She's His Majesty's concubine." Ji Yuan exploded. Of all the women out there, why did Master take a fancy to His Majesty's woman and even give her such an important item? So what? So what? Master, are you even listening to him? "She's His Majesty's concubine." Ji Yuan raised his voice. The cool moonlight enveloped Ming Jin's face, and the gentleness in his eyes was tinged with coldness. He turned his head slightly, and the shattered moonlight rippled in his eyes. He gazed at the majestic imperial city, and his lips moved slightly. "So what?" Ji Yuan was so angry that he panted heavily. But there was nothing he could do. Once Master set his mind on something, there was basically no turning back. Just what was so good about that Zhuang Qiong that she was... Ming Jin and Ji Yuan had just stepped into the residence when they were stunned by the mess in the courtyard. Were these bandits invading the village? "Sir." A disheveled manservant stumbled out. "Sir, you've finally returned. What happened?" Ji Yuan asked anxiously. The manservant panted, then pointed in the direction of the commotion. "The sword Sir brought back over there. It's very strange." "Sword?" Ming Jin headed in that direction. Ji Yuan didn't have time to ask, hurrying to catch up with Ming Jin. The iron sword, glowing with a cold light, was floating in the air. The surrounding buildings had been completely destroyed. A few servants stood in the distance, pointing at the iron sword. When Ming Jin arrived, a group of people immediately surrounded him. Sir, is this sword the legendary divine weapon with a spiritual consciousness? Not long after Master left, this sword had displayed its divine might. Anyone who dared to stop it would definitely be cut down. Ji Yuan examined the iron sword. Sir, you brought this sword back from the academy. Who does it belong to? It could actually float in the air on its own. Ming Jin's eyes narrowed. The iron sword hacked at his house like it was chopping up carrots. He'd tested it in the afternoon, but it wasn't as sharp as it looked. So, this sword really did have a spiritual consciousness? It was rumored in the Jianghu that divine weapons would develop their own spiritual consciousness, but it wasn't true. No one had ever seen it, so it was only a rumor. This was definitely the first iron sword he'd ever seen with a spiritual consciousness. Sir, hurry and stop it. If it continues like this, where will we live? In the end, evidence of Consort Shu's poisoning was discovered. Yuan Sun didn't take her life out of consideration for her family, but she was still banished to the cold palace. The little prince's life wasn't in any danger, but Lu Ruo was punished by Yuan Sun for failing to watch over him. Tao Qin reported this news to the Shisheng. Ever since Yuan Sun gave her 10 days, no one had poisoned her, tried to blackmail her, and the Shisheng had a rare few days of peace. Master, tomorrow is the last day. Would the things that Master said really happen? What's the rush? It'll take a few more days for the news to reach us. The Shisheng's tone was relaxed. Did you find out what I asked you to find out? I did. There's never been a palace called Weiyang Palace. The Shisheng fell silent. Master, what exactly are you looking for? Tao Qin was truly curious. If only I knew what I was looking for. The Shisheng collapsed onto the table, dejected. System, do you dare give me another hint? This 2-word hint was too damn deceptive. He had no clue at all. Host, don't you think you're smart? It's time to test your IQ. Go, Pikachu. Where's Ai's sword? Oh right, it was still hacking at Ming Jin's house. The iron sword only worked at night and didn't work during the day. That was why those people repaired it during the day and destroyed it at night. But Ming Jin still hadn't returned the iron sword to her. Scared. There's a pervert coveting me. You're a pervert, but you have the nerve to criticize others. Chapter 462. Master, Lord Zhuang is here. Shisheng was just about to go to bed when Tao Qin suddenly ran in from outside, looking nervous. He can enter and leave the harem as he pleases? Shisheng was surprised. This Lord Zhuang was quite impressive. He had been sending him messages before, but Shisheng's replies were either infuriating or not at all. Most of the people around her had been cleared out, so Zhuang Fu couldn't sit still and naturally ran into the palace. Because he was entering the palace without permission, Zhuang Fu was very careful, even looking left and right after entering the room. Xiao Qiong. Zhuang Fu saw Shisheng sitting on the chaise lounge without any intention of greeting him, so he couldn't help but scold him with a dark expression. Master. Tao Qin seemed to be a bit afraid of Zhuang Fu and kept shooting glances at Shisheng. Shisheng looked up slightly and said calmly, Father, aren't you afraid that His Majesty will see you entering the palace in the middle of the night? Zhuang Fu's expression softened, probably thinking that Shisheng was concerned about him. I'm here to see you. Zhuang Fu took a few steps forward. How have you been? Father, don't you know whether I'm well or not? Although the people in her palace had been removed, Zhuang Fu still had people planted around. Zhuang Fu frowned. There was something wrong with this daughter of his before, and now it seemed even more so. Could it be that she was possessed? Zhuang Fu sized up Shisheng without batting an eyelid, then asked tentatively, Xiao Qiong, do you still remember what you said to me when you were young? Shisheng sat up and looked at Zhuang Fu calmly. So what if I remember, and so what if I don't? Zhuang Fu frowned even harder. Xiao Qiong, don't forget your mission. Shisheng grinned maliciously. Do you really think Yuan Sun is that stupid? He's been guarding against you for a long time. How could he have touched me? You're saying that Yuan Sun has been guarding against me for a long time. Zhuang Fu was astonished. Why else do you think I haven't gotten pregnant after so many years in the palace? In the past, the original Zhuang Qiong was shy and wouldn't tell Zhuang Fu that Yuan Sun hadn't touched her. Zhuang Fu only thought that the original Zhuang Qiong was disappointing and couldn't get pregnant. Zhuang Fu's expression turned serious. He hadn't expected Yuan Sun to be on guard against him. Yuan Sun hadn't shown any signs of being on guard against him in court, and he was also very fond of Zhuang Qiong. When had he started to be on guard against him? Zhuang Fu calmed down. What happened a few days ago? Shi Shang spread his hands and said, "Someone framed me, and someone took advantage of the situation. That's it." Imperial concubine Shu was the one who had framed her. The one who took advantage of the situation was Yuan Sun. Both of them wanted her dead, so they didn't need to sleep together to reach an agreement. Unfortunately, Consort Shu had not taken into account Ming Jin, who had suddenly appeared, and Shi Shang, who did not play by the rules. Don't act rashly. Wait for me to send you a message. Zhuang Fu hurriedly left after saying that. Yuan Sun had ordered that Shi Shang and Yuan Sun's bet be kept a secret. Those who had been present that day were either Yuan Sun's trusted aides or had been silenced. As such, Zhuang Fu didn't know about it. He went to the palace today only because Shi Shang was behaving abnormally. But now that Shi Shang had thrown out such a question, Zhuang Fu couldn't care less about whether Shi Shang was behaving abnormally. If Yuan Sun really knew about it, then he must have made arrangements in secret for all these years. This was very disadvantageous for the Zhuang family. He had to go back and discuss it with his subordinates. Master, you? Tao Qin wanted to say something, but hesitated. Her expression was very complicated. Master's recent behavior had been too abnormal. Shi Shang glanced at Tao Qin. Scared? Perhaps I've really been possessed. If you're scared, then leave. Tao Qin lowered her head and replied in a muffled voice, Master, this servant is just curious. Just take it that I've had enough of being manipulated by these people and want to manipulate others. Shi Shang waved his hand and said nonchalantly, You can also take it that I've changed into someone else. Tao Qin stared blankly at Shi Shang and didn't come back to her senses for a long time. The next day, Eunuch Dia and the Imperial Guards were waiting outside the bedchambers early in the morning. Shi Shang's face was full of impatience. What are you doing so early in the morning? Eunuch Dia pinched his thumb and middle finger together and shrieked, Yun Jieyu, today is the last day. Are you crazy? You have a freaking phone? News from Jinbei can be sent over today? Eunuch Dia was a bit confused. What was a phone? Although Eunuch Dia didn't understand a phone, he still understood the meaning of the sentence. It would take 3 days and 3 nights to travel from Jinbei to the capital. Eunuch Dia hurriedly sent someone to ask Yuan Sun for instructions. Yuan Sun was in a bad mood because his intelligence was being looked down upon. He ordered people to surround the bedchambers. Once the news came back, they would immediately drag the culprit out and behead him. In the afternoon, the weather, which had been fine, suddenly turned gloomy. The torrential rain came without warning. Could it be that Yun Jieyu was right? The Imperial Guards outside the bedchambers couldn't help but mutter. Do you think Yun Jieyu is a demon or not? Didn't Master Shukong say no? Clearly, the people who surrounded Shi Shang were the ones who had been at the Hall of Declaring Peace. Then she's really an expert who knows how to calculate. We'll know in 3 days. After 2 days of heavy rain, Yuan Sun was already beginning to have doubts. In the middle of the 3rd day, an urgent message was sent to the capital. Jinbei was raining heavily. Dams had collapsed, floods had overflowed, and the people had lost their homes. The heavy rain had started 5 days ago, but the real flood had started 3 days ago. Including the 3 days since the message was sent, the flood had already been going on for 6 days. Yuan Sun pinched the letter that was soaked in rain and somewhat blurred, his eyes gloomy. She really was right. In the middle of the night, the capital was in a complete mess. Although the imperial guards outside Shishang hadn't been withdrawn, some of them had been transferred away. Master, you really were right. Tao Qin hadn't been in the right state of mind these days. When she heard the news, she seemed even more flustered. She didn't know who the master in front of her was. Shishang propped up his chin and looked at the patter of rain outside the window. He didn't answer Tao Qin. Other than the flickering candlelight, the room was silent. After a long while, Shishang turned around and placed a token in front of her. Tao Qin, leave the palace. Master. Tao Qin was surprised. Master was chasing her away? No, she might not be her master. Tao Qin struggled for a moment, but in the end, she picked up the token on the table. She passed through one palace after another. The palace gate was getting closer and closer. As long as she stepped out of this gate, she would be free. But Tao Qin's body suddenly froze. She stood in the dark, watching the palanquins coming in and out. Finally, she lifted her feet and walked towards the palace gate. Asterisk little fairy. I want beef-flavored tickets today. Cherub. You're even ordering food? Little fairy, acting cute. Of course, Cherub, you're actually acting cute. Scared. Little fairy. Why can't I act cute? Can't you see that I'm cute? Cherub. Didn't you call yourself a handsome fairy? Little fairy. Can't I be cute today? Cherub. This is the first time I've seen such an unreasonable and shameless author. I vote for your shamelessness. Chapter 463. Yuan Sun was busy dealing with a natural disaster and didn't have time to bother with Shishang. Shishang didn't bother to show off either and just stayed in his palace all day, eating and drinking as he pleased. The Zhuang family took advantage of the chaos to do many things. Zhuang Fu even had someone bring in some food and told Shishang to think of a way to feed it to Yuan Sun. Seeing that it was about time, Shishang swaggered over to Yuan Sun to redeem his promise. Yuan Sun had suppressed this news back then, probably thinking that even if Shishang was right, he wouldn't have to admit it. But Yuan Sun hadn't expected Shishang to barge into the throne room. Even the imperial guards behind him couldn't stop him. Zhuang Fu was also astonished. He clearly didn't know why Shishang had barged in at this time. Compared to the confused ministers, Yuan Sun was much calmer. Zhuang Qiong, what are you trying to do by bringing a sword to the throne room? The emperor's faction immediately stood out to berate Shishang. Shishang held the iron sword and tilted his head slightly to look at the scolding old man. A faint smile spread across his face. I'm not going to do anything to you. Don't be nervous. You. Lord Zhuang, what a good daughter you've raised. She even dares to bring a sword to the throne room. Is your Zhuang family thinking of rebelling? Lord Song, don't make false accusations. This official is loyal to His Majesty and has no other intentions. Zhuang Fu immediately expressed his loyalty. That's enough, all of you. Shishang pointed his iron sword at the people who were about to quarrel. They immediately fell silent. No one spoke. Shishang put down the iron sword in satisfaction. Why is everything related to rebelling? If I wanted to rebel, would he still be sitting here? Everyone. Isn't he being too conceited? Your Majesty, Yun Jieyu has no regard for the law and is arrogant, despotic, and rude. This official requests that Yun Jieyu be punished for her great disrespect. This official agrees. This official agrees. This official. A group of people seconded the motion for Yuan Sun to drag Shishang out and behead him. Zhuang Fu's face darkened as he stared at Shishang, very dissatisfied with his current actions. Your Majesty, when will you fulfill your promise? Shishang ignored the group of ministers who seconded the motion. Yuan Sun raised his hand, and everyone immediately quieted down. Yuan Sun looked at the arrogant woman below, and his expression changed unpredictably. This woman, a long while later, Yuan Sun finally spoke under everyone's puzzled gazes, revoke Yun Jieyu's title. The ministers below were overjoyed. Father Zhuang stepped forward, but before he could speak, Yuan Sun's voice rang out again. The Zhuang family's first daughter, Zhuang Qiong, has been conferred the title of state preceptor. Yuan Sun really couldn't find any words to describe her. The hall was silent for a few seconds. Then, the entire imperial court exploded. How could a woman be the state preceptor? Or a woman from the harem? What ability could she possibly have? One had to know that although the state preceptor didn't have any real power, he still had to be capable. Your Majesty, you mustn't. A group of old officials knelt on the ground and wailed. Yuan Sun felt stifled. Do you think he's willing? If this woman really had that kind of ability, he wouldn't dare to offend her. He was the emperor, but he was not a god. Your Majesty. Enough. Yuan Sun slammed the table. Many people below immediately fell silent out of fear. Shi Shang successfully ascended to the throne of state preceptor amidst all the angry, surprised, shocked, and treacherous gazes. It felt good to be the country's quack. When he left the throne room, Father Zhuang wanted to stop Shi Shang. Shi Shang didn't want to get tangled up with Father Zhuang, so he took advantage of the moment Father Zhuang came over and fled. The state preceptor had a special residence, so Shi Shang moved from the harem to the state preceptor's residence. When he moved, a group of concubines from the harem came to watch. Perhaps no one in history had ever been promoted from a concubine to a state preceptor. She was a concubine, but she didn't work hard for the throne of the empress and actually became some state preceptor. Wasn't there something wrong with her? The crazy Shi Shang carried a small bundle out of the bedchamber. A group of girls pointed at her and whispered among themselves. Shi Shang flung the bundle over his shoulder and waved at the eunuch waiting outside. The eunuch immediately led the way in the direction of Zhai Xinglu. Why do you think His Majesty agreed to such a rude request? A woman to be the state preceptor? Just wait to be impeached by those old officials. Just wait and see, it won't be long before she... The woman made a beheading gesture. They didn't have a high status in the first place, so they didn't dare to have any other ideas except to be a good wife. No matter what method she used to become the state preceptor, there were plenty of people who wanted to pull her down. They just needed to watch. Zhai Xinglu wasn't far from Lin, an academy, which was what Shi Shang wanted. It was convenient for her to go to the Jade Pavilion. As for Weiyang Palace, she didn't know what it was. There were only 2 servants in Zhai Xinglu, and Shi Shang didn't like too many people, so 2 servants were enough. She either went to the Jade Pavilion as the state preceptor or looked at the stars and moon in Zhai Xinglu and thought about life. This simple life made a group of people gnash their teeth in hatred. Some people also wanted to do something to Shi Shang. However, many people couldn't even enter Zhai Xinglu. Some people who did enter were thrown out in the end. Gradually, fewer and fewer people dared to do anything to Shi Shang, and Zhai Xinglu became more and more strange. Zhai Xinglu was especially gloomy at night. Lu Ruo carefully avoided the patrolling guards and crept to the outside of Zhai Xinglu. She looked up at the 2-meter-tall wall, her face full of bitterness. How was she going to get up? Yuan Sun was getting more and more difficult to please recently. He would turn hostile at the slightest disagreement, and the concubines in the harem kept finding fault with her. She just wanted to leave this damned place as soon as possible. The system said that Zhuang Qiong had something that could help it level up, so she had to do anything to get back. Lu Ruo took a deep breath, rubbed her hands, found a better place to climb, and climbed up the wall little by little. She sat on the wall with her legs spread apart. Lu Ruo continued to take deep breaths and was about to jump down when she heard a voice behind her. What are you doing? Lu Ruo's body staggered and fell straight down, smashing onto the cold ground. Her entire person was stunned from the fall. It hurts. Her waist must have been broken. It hurts. Lu Ruo lay on the ground and could see the wall she was sitting on. A black figure was sitting on the wall. Zhuang Qiong, Lu Ruo said hesitantly. That voice should be her. Why was she sitting on the wall in the middle of the night instead of sleeping? No, there wasn't anyone on the wall when she climbed up. Then when did she come? She didn't notice at all. Shi Shang jumped down from the wall and landed silently. Lu Ruo was shocked again. Shi Shang, who was pretending to be cool, looked down at Lu Ruo. Why are you climbing I's wall in the middle of the night? I didn't provoke this female lead Sama recently. I didn't even provoke the male lead, so why did the female lead Sama come knocking on my door? Lu Ruo clutched her aching waist and got up. She retorted with some resentment, why are you sitting on the wall and scaring me? Shi Shang snorted. This wall is my territory. I can sit on it whenever I want. You're the one who got scared because you're mentally weak. How can you blame I? Why are you climbing I's wall for no reason? You. Mentally weak? She was the one who appeared silently, yet she scared her. #hashtag text breaks through 1 million and scatters flowers hashtag. Chapter 464. Lu Ruo rubbed her waist. Don't be angry, don't be angry. Business is more important. I want to talk to you. What do we have to talk about? Nothing good came from the female lead. I know you have a space on you. If you don't want others to know, then talk to me. Damn. The female lead has learned how to threaten. Go ahead. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Lu Ruo. She wants me to talk to her? No. She must be lying to me. Lu Ruo rolled her eyes. Zhuangqiong, who are you? The system said she didn't come from another world, but she felt that she didn't act like someone from this world. She also asked around. Zhuangqiong was arrogant and domineering in the past, but she had a sense of propriety. She wouldn't do something like this. Why do you care who I am? You're not Zhuangqiong, right? Lu Ruo continued to ask. Did you transmigrate or reborn? In novels, transmigrating or being reborn will have a space. Which one are you? I'm a god. Lu Ruo. Crazy? She must be unwilling to tell her. She had to gain her trust first. I'm from the future. No, it should be a parallel world in the future because there was no dynasty in my time. I want to go back, but I need something. You happen to have something that can help me go back. Can you help me? Lu Ruo explained her background and looked at Shi Shang expectantly. Why should I help you? Do you think I's charity? Shouldn't people help each other? She understood what he was saying. She must have come from the future as well. Lu Ruo was a little excited. Shi Shang. I didn't expect the female lead to be so naive. I'm kneeling to you. Even in the modern world, people don't dare to help old people. You came to this era to talk to me about helping each other. Stabbing each other twice counts as helping each other? Female lead, haven't you learned your lesson after such a long palace fight? She was terrified. Shi Shang crossed his arms. Then what can you do for me? Lu Ruo was stunned. What can I do for her? Don't you want to go back? Lu Ruo was certain that Shi Shang was from the future world. If I can go back, you might be able to too. Helping me is also helping you. This world is too scary. Do you like it here? I quite like it. What's good about this place? Lu Ruo was surprised. She didn't like this place at all. There was no TV, no computer, no air conditioner, and all she had to do was face a group of palace maids and eunuchs and prevent others from scheming against her. She actually said that she liked it? Lu Ruo racked her brains to persuade Shi Shang. But you can lose your life here at any time. That's you, not me. Lu Ruo recalled what had happened before, and it seemed to be the case. The girl in front of him was extremely powerful. I'm begging you. Can you help me? I've had enough of this place. I want to go home. Lu Ruo put her hands together and begged. I don't get any benefits from helping you. Why should I help you? I won't do a losing deal. We're both from the future. Can't you help me for the sake of being from the same hometown? How can you be so cold-blooded and selfish? We're both in a strange environment. What's wrong with helping? Lu Ruo began to criticize him. Yes, I am cold-blooded and selfish. Shi Shang nodded and admitted. He chuckled evilly. What can you do to me? What can you do to me? What can you do to me? What can you do? Lu Ruo couldn't do anything to him. She left in a huff, muttering indignantly that he was selfish and cold-blooded for not helping him. This female lead's personality. Why was it so strange? Shi Shang waited for Lu Ruo's figure to disappear before he quickly climbed over the wall. When he jumped down, a white figure suddenly flashed in front of him. She felt a tight grip around her waist and was accurately pulled into someone's arms. With a spin and a leap, she was brought to the highest point of Jiaxing. Lu Shi Shang stretched out his leg to kick her, but a slightly cold hand pressed down on his leg. Miss Zhuang, if you break this little fellow, you'll be sad for the rest of your life. F***CK. This damn hooligan. Where's I's sword? The iron sword appeared in Shi Shang's hand out of thin air. A cold glint flashed across Ming Jin's eyes. Shi Shang struggled out of his arms and landed on the other side, the cold sword pressed against his chest. The night wind blew, causing the sleeves of her clothes and her hair to dance. Ming Jin suddenly took a step forward. The sword pierced his chest, but he didn't even frown. He smiled at Shi Shang. Stab me, and I won't bother you anymore. Shi Shang's hand trembled. This lunatic. She took a deep breath and sheathed her sword. You can't bear to part with me? Ming Jin lowered his head and looked at the liquid slowly seeping out of his chest. Can't bear to part with you, my foot. What do you like about me? Arrogant, despotic, unreasonable, and condescending. Hidden mission. Redress your grievances. The system's voice overlapped with Ming Jin's. Shi Shang was dazed. Redress your grievances? What the hell was this? What grievances could he possibly have had? Mission target. Ming Jin. Mission content. Host, please understand the literal meaning of the mission. F***CK. If you're so great, explain it to I. You're becoming more and more careless with the missions you give out. What did you say you liked about me? Shi Shang blinked and repeated his question. Ming Jin didn't show any impatience. Arrogant, despotic, unreasonable, and condescending. Was he F***King complimenting her? Shouldn't he like I's fair skin, pretty face, and soft body? This idiot. Shi Shang jumped down. Ming Jin was startled and hurriedly jumped after her. They landed on the ground at the same time. Ming Jin stared at the iron sword in Shi Shang's hand with a dark expression. She had stepped on this sword to come down. Ming Jin saw Shi Shang walk toward Stargazing Tower and hurriedly followed. I confess to you. Aren't you going to give me an answer? Shi Shang sneered. Who said I have to give you an answer just because you confessed? Ming Jin. Seeing Shi Shang enter and close the door, Ming Jin moved in a flash. Just as Shi Shang was about to close the door, Ming Jin moved sideways. He grabbed Shi Shang's shoulders and spun her around, pinning her against the door. His long legs pressed down on her legs and clamped her hands behind her back. Shi Shang's chest heaved slightly. His expression was unfriendly. Ming Jin's gaze was gentle. He bent down and leaned close to Shi Shang. Shi Shang tilted her head slightly to avoid him. His cool lips landed on her face. Ming Jin pecked her lightly, then slowly moved to the corner of her mouth. Ming Jin, I'll give you one chance. Let go of me, Shi Shang said calmly as she stopped struggling. Ming Jin paused. His lips stopped at the corner of Shi Shang's lips. He licked them with the tip of his tongue. After repeating this several times, he finally let go of Shi Shang. I won't force you. Ming Jin took a step back. But you have to remember that since I've decided on you, even if you don't agree, I still have a way to get you in the end. Is that so? Shi Shang wiped the corner of her mouth with her sleeve. What if I die? I'll die with you. Chapter 465. Shi Shang leaned against the wall, his gaze randomly landing on the bookshelf in front of him. His mind was filled with what Ming Jin had said that night. Did he have his memories back? No. Shi Shang shook his head. If he had memories, it was impossible for him to not say anything. Then was it an instinct they had developed after experiencing so many worlds? The night she had stripped Ming Jin, she had known that he was Feng Ci. She had sensed a very weak aura from him. It had started in Qin Ji's world. She had sensed it then, but it had been even weaker than in this world. So, as they experienced more worlds, the aura would become stronger? Clatter. Something fell to the ground with a crisp sound, interrupting Shi Shang's train of thought. She turned to look at the source of the sound. A child was sprawled on the bookshelf, looking at her with watery eyes. When Shi Shang looked over, the child immediately turned and ran away. Shi Shang. Do I look that scary? What the hell? Shi Shang threw the book in his hand onto the bookshelf and got up to leave. However, his hair accidentally caught on the scroll behind him and pulled the painting down. Hiss. Flip's table. Why did he have to choke on cold water when he was unlucky? Shi Shang untied his hair and glanced at the place where the painting had been hanging. Shi Shang's eyes suddenly lit up. She had only been looking at the books here, but there were also paintings and walls here. Shi Shang touched the wall to check, but didn't find anything wrong. She checked all the paintings in the Jade Pavilion, but didn't find anything. What should she do if she wanted to hack the system? F***CKU. What was the Jade Pavilion referring to? Shi Shang hadn't made any progress, but at that moment, a rumor suddenly spread. It was about her and Ming Jin. Someone had seen her and Ming Jin meeting in secret. Although she was now the so-called state tutor, in the eyes of these people, she had once been Yuan Sun's concubine. How could she have an affair with another man? This was absolutely not allowed. She would be drowned in a pig cage. That was why memorials to impeach Shi Shang were sent to Yuan Sun as if they didn't cost money. Your Majesty, I've already said that Zhuang Qiong and Ming Jin's relationship is not simple. Last time, Ming Jin spoke up for her, and this time, there are such rumors. Yuan Sun tossed the booklet to the side, exhaustion evident between his brows. Western Liang has been restless recently. Has there been any movement from Ming Jin? There were internal and external problems. Before the Zhuang family was settled, Shiliang's side began to stir again. Your Majesty, no. Keep a close eye on him. Your Majesty, then this matter. Eunuch De asked tentatively. Yuan Sun rubbed his forehead and said in a cold voice, Don't worry about it for now. He did not want to touch that Zhuang Qiong now. He carefully thought about what had happened before. The impenetrable transparent barrier and the sword that appeared out of nowhere. This woman was very strange. If he could find a way to get rid of both of them, that would be for the best. If he couldn't get rid of it, rumors spread throughout the palace, and even the commoners outside heard about it. It was already absurd enough for the emperor's concubine to become the state preceptor, and now she was having a private meeting with someone else. Wasn't this just asking people to poke at him behind his back? Even the Zhuang family was being pointed at and gossiped about. If a woman in ancient times did not abide by her virtue, she would definitely be drowned in spittle. Zhuang Fu had recently fallen out with the emperor and was already having a hard time. Now that this matter had popped up, the people in court would definitely take the opportunity to suppress him. Compared to these people who were jumping up and down over this matter, the two main characters, Shi Shang and Ming Jin, were much calmer. Ming Jin shut himself in and refused to see anyone. Shi Shang spent all day in the Jade Pavilion, trying to see if he could see anything. He couldn't see anything, but he could see a person. Yuan Jing. Yuan Sun's darling. For some reason, this child would also sneak in when Shi Shang was in the Jade Pavilion. As soon as Shi Shang saw him, he would run away. Son, come here. Shi Shang waved at Yuan Jing, who was huddled behind a bookshelf, taking advantage of him in passing. Yuan Jing's eyes widened as he reached out his chubby hand and pointed his index finger at himself. Is there anyone else here? Yuan Jing turned his head to look left and right, then shook his head slightly. He looked at Shi Shang, then slowly moved toward him. Why are you looking at me all day? Who knew what this brat was up to? Shi Shang sat on the windowsill. Yuan Jing needed to look up at him. You're the state preceptor? Yuan Jing's voice was soft and pleasant. That's right. Shi Sheng nodded. Then do you know how to catch ghosts? Yuan Jing asked carefully. Catch ghosts? Wasn't this a palace intrigue novel? Why was it a supernatural novel? Who told you that the state preceptor could catch ghosts? It's all recorded in the annals of history. Yuan Jing answered seriously. The state preceptor is an apostle of God. He understands the will of the heavens and brings peace to the country. He exorcises ghosts and suppresses evil. Shi Shang. Are you talking about the state preceptor? He's a decathlon superhuman, isn't he? If the state preceptor was so awesome, what did he need the emperor for? Yuan Jing asked carefully. Do you know how to? I don't. I became the state preceptor because I wanted to get rid of the identity of Yuan Sun's concubine and get in and out of the Jade Pavilion at will. Ahem, the main thing is that the state preceptor sounds awesome. Yuan Jing lowered his head in disappointment. Shi Shang wouldn't meddle in other people's business, so when Yuan Jing left, he didn't say anything. But a few days later, he heard that Yuan Jing was ill. He fell ill without warning. He had a fever and was talking nonsense. The Imperial Hospital was helpless. This poor baby. In the plot, Yuan Jing died in the end. It should be about this play. After the female lead went through this play, she would be promoted to a concubine. Then her desire to go home would not be so strong. She would start to focus on palace intrigue and compete with women from all sides. Shi Sheng sighed. In the middle of the night, he climbed into Yuan Jing's palace. This place was guarded by 3 layers of outer layers. Shi Sheng spent some effort to get in. When he passed by a side hall, Shi Sheng suddenly froze. Yulong Pavilion. Who's there? A loud shout came from the front. Where's the person? Strange, are you seeing things? I'll go take a look. They looked around. When they didn't see anyone, they left with strange expressions. On a nearby roof, Ming Jin hugged Shi Shang and held his breath as he waited for the people below to leave. Why are you here? Ming Jin's voice was gentle. I followed you here. Followed me? You're still running around this late at night. You need a flower protector. What do you think, Miss Zhuang? Shi Shang raised his brows. If I want you to kill Yuan Jing, you'll go too? I'm willing to kill Yuan Sun for you. Shi Shang struggled out of his arms and jumped off the roof, heading straight for Yulong Pavilion. Ming Jin caught up with her and reminded her softly, Miss, don't be so rash. It won't be good if you fall. You don't want me if you fall and become ugly? Shi Shang pushed open the door to Yulong Pavilion and dashed in. No matter what you look like, I want you. Asterisk little fairy. No matter what you look like, I want votes. Cherub. What do we look like? Little fairy. As beautiful as a celestial fairy, so beautiful that even the birds and geese would fall from the sky. Cherub. Since you're praising us so much, let's vote then. Little fairy. I'm talking about me. Cherub. Scram. Chapter 466. Shi Shang entered the Yulong Pavilion. It was too dark inside, so she could only see the shelves in the room. A faint light shone from behind her, then slowly grew stronger. Ming Jin approached Shi Shang from behind, holding a luminous pearl in his hand. Shi Shang glanced at him. Ming Jin smiled gently. His eyes seemed to be covered with a thin veil, making it impossible to see the emotions in his eyes. Shi Shang shuddered and shifted her gaze to look around. This pervert. There were many shelves here, on which were all kinds of jade and porcelain. There were also calligraphy and paintings on the side. This must be the collection room. Miss Zhuang, what are you looking for? I can help you find it. Ming Jin followed behind Shi Shang, holding the luminous pearl. Shi Shang didn't say anything, because she didn't know what she was looking for. Shi Shang searched the entire Yulong Pavilion, but still found nothing. So she guessed wrong? F***CK. I'm not going to do this stupid mission. Host. Health points. The system dutifully appeared to remind Shi Sheng. Damn you. Shi Sheng gritted her teeth. I'll bear with it. You're so awesome. You'll cry in the future. Miss Zhuang. Ming Jin had appeared in front of a painting in the corner and called her softly. Shi Sheng walked over. Ming Jin pointed at the painting with a smile. There's something wrong with this painting. Why is there light in here? Let's go in and take a look. There was a sudden voice. Ming Jin put away the luminous pearl and jumped onto the roof beam with Shi Sheng in his arms. Creak. The door was pushed open, and a few dark figures filed out from the door. Why is he gone? Look around. If anything happens to the little prince, we won't be able to keep our heads. They spread out and walked in through the door. The roof beam was very small, so Shi Sheng was almost entirely in Ming Jin's arms. His breath hit her ear, soft and warm. Ming Jin held Shi Sheng's head in his hand and suddenly lowered his head, pressing close to Shi Sheng's lips. Without giving Shi Sheng any chance to react, he swept across her lips and teeth. Someone happened to be standing below them. Just as he was about to look up, someone called him from afar. He scratched his head and left. The room was plunged into darkness again. Ming Jin licked his Shi Sheng lips and asked in a slightly hoarse voice, "Is Miss Zhuang satisfied?" "Just so." Shi Sheng pushed him away expressionlessly and jumped off the beam. This idiot. Her kissing skills were so bad, yet she still had the nerve to ask I. Ming Jin rubbed the corner of his lips with his index finger and jumped down as well. Why don't we practice a few more times? I'm sure Miss Zhuang will be satisfied. Shi Sheng suddenly turned around, grabbed him by the collar and pressed him against the wall. Come, Miss Zhuang. Shi Sheng inched closer and closer to Ming Jin. Ming Jin could feel her breathing. However, in the next second, she moved away from him and whispered in his ear, "If you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll kill you. Even if I die, I must drag Miss Zhuang down with me." Ming Jin reached out and wrapped his arms around Shi Sheng's waist. He tightened his grip and said gently, "How could I bear to let Miss Zhuang live alone in this world? I'm willing to let you die alone." "It's all right, I won't let you live alone." Shi Sheng. She really hated this side of Feng Ci. She wanted to hack him to death. Ming Jin let go of her before Shi Sheng could do anything. He turned around and looked at the painting. He took it down. There was a dent in the back of the painting. Shi Sheng thought that the shape of the dent looked familiar. In the next second, she saw Ming Jin take out a jade pendant and place it in the dent. With a light twist, the bookshelf beside them silently moved aside. Shi Sheng. So why was the key in this idiot's hands? Ming Jin put the jade pendant away. Seeing Shi Sheng staring at it, he handed it over. "Miss Zhuang, are you sure you don't want this as a token of love?" It was obvious that this was a prop. Of course she wanted it. Shi Sheng calmly accepted the jade pendant. Ming Jin's gaze was gentle. "Miss Zhuang, aren't you going to give me a token of love? I don't have your life or your money." Ming Jin closed in on Shi Sheng and reached out to cup her face. "Then I'll take it myself." Shi Sheng bent her knee and pushed him back. Ming Jin hurriedly retreated. "Miss Zhuang, a lady shouldn't be so rough. Try touching me again." Shi Sheng revealed a sinister smile. "I promise you'll never forget it. Courtesy demands reciprocity. I gave you a token of love. Shouldn't you give me one?" Ming Jin was unconvinced. "No." Shi Sheng turned to look behind the bookshelf. "This idiot doesn't even look where she is. Flirt your grandpa." There was no secret room behind the bookshelf. There was only a hollowed-out space with several boxes inside. One of the boxes was the largest. Shi Sheng took it out. It was covered in a thick layer of dust. It had obviously been a long time since anyone touched it. Ming Jin stood to the side and looked at her. His gentle gaze was somewhat unreadable. Shi Sheng opened the box. There was only an imperial edict inside. It was a posthumous edict. Judging from the year, it was written by the emperor's father's father, Yuan Sun's grandfather. The contents of the edict were about the succession of the throne. Yuan Mo? The late emperor's name wasn't Yuan Mo, was it? Ming Jin's gaze swept over the edict. He reminded her, let's leave this place first. Shi Shang put the edict away, returned the bookshelf to its original state, and slipped out of Yulong Pavilion. Halfway there, she turned back and found Yuan Jing's bedchamber. After knocking out the person inside, she showed him to Yuan Jing. After leaving the bedchamber, Ming Jin said thoughtfully, I didn't expect Miss Zhuang to have a conscience. I don't have one. That thing had long been fed to the dogs. Then why did Miss Zhuang save Yuan Jing? Shi Shang raised her chin. I was happy. I was willing. There were thousands of reasons, but they couldn't compare to a single, I was happy. Ming Jin walked behind her. As he watched her back, the sound of his heart beating could be heard clearly. It was a feeling he had never experienced before. It was as if he had always lived for her. That heart was beating for her. When they returned to Zhai Xinglu, Shi Shang had been locked out by Ming Jin, but this fellow had actually climbed in through the window. Shi Shang felt that he should seal the window. No, if he sealed it, what would he do when she wanted to climb in through the window? This idiot. Why can your jade pendant open that mechanism? Shi Shang took out the edict and asked casually. Do you know who Yuan Mo is? Ming Jin sat across from Shi Shang. I don't know. Never heard of this name. He's the late emperor's younger brother, the former third prince. The late emperor's younger brother? One person substituted for another. In other words, the late emperor had stolen the throne that should have belonged to Yuan Mo? But what does this have to do with your jade pendant? Aren't you a freaking Western Liang prince? Ming Jin's expression changed slightly. When I was first sent to Dongjin, I lived in the third prince's residence until I was 4 years old. Shi Shang narrowed his eyes. He had been sent to Yunin Temple 16 years ago and had only returned to the capital a year ago. Then what happened 16 years ago? Asterisk, come on, let's act. Please vote. Chapter 467. Ming Jin told him that Yuan Mo was a very amiable person. Whether it was to his own people or to a foreign hostage like him, he was very good to him. But 16 years ago, he was suddenly sent to Yunin Temple on the grounds that he was possessed and his life was in danger. At the time, Ming Jin was still young and didn't understand. He could only do whatever those people told him to do. He didn't have many memories of that period. What he knew was slowly uncovered later on. Yuan Mo's entire family was executed for treason. Shi Shang propped up his chin, his gaze landing on the somewhat old imperial edict. If Yuan Mo had this imperial edict, he should have taken it out if he wanted to become emperor. He couldn't have rebelled after so many years of the previous emperor's ascension, right? The previous emperor had been in power for more than 30 years, so why did he only rebel after more than a decade? Or was it that the previous emperor had never known about this edict, but found out later on? This seemed to be the only explanation that made sense. You're telling me just like that? Aren't you afraid that I'm on Yuan Sun's side? Shi Shang collected his scattered thoughts and looked at Ming Jin with a half-smile. Ming Jin's eyes were filled with gentleness that one couldn't help but indulge in. He stared at Shi Shang for a few seconds, then slowly said, Then I'll overturn his empire. Since you have the ability, why are you still here? Ming Jin's eyes sparkled. Because you're here. The consequences of flirting with me are very serious. Shi Shang knocked on the table. Can you bear the responsibility? Flirting? Ming Jin didn't quite understand the word, but he understood the latter part. Of course. Shi Shang leaned closer to Ming Jin and pinched his chin. But if you're my man, you have to listen to me and do as I say. I promise I'll do as you say, except in bed. Shi Shang released his grip with a look of pity. That's a pity. You have to listen to me in bed too, so we're not suited for each other. Let's meet in the next world. Her scalp tingled at the thought of being together with someone who was full of evil tricks and would plot against her at any time. Ming Jin frowned, a look of struggle in his eyes. In the end, Ming Jin didn't say anything and got up to leave. Sure enough, men had a different kind of obsession in bed. Shi Shang felt that now that he had obtained the imperial edict, he had completed his task of substituting the plum for the peach tree. After all, the mission didn't ask her to overturn Yuan Mo's case. As expected, the royal family was full of scandals. Hurry up and separate the man and woman, then leave this troublesome place. Because the little prince's illness was gradually improving, Yuan Sun was both worried and happy. She had been with her baby for a few days. Imperial father, I don't want to drink anymore. Yuan Jing's small face wrinkled into a ball. Don't mess around, Yuan Sun scolded and personally fed him the medicine. How can your body recover if you don't take the medicine? Yuan Jing could only drink the medicine with a bitter face. Father, I don't want to live here anymore. Yuan Jing grabbed Yuan Sun's sleeve and said pitifully. What happened? Yuan Jing pursed his lips and was a little timid. He glanced at the palace maids and eunuchs waiting outside. Yuan Sun frowned and waved his hand to dismiss everyone. That day, Yuan Jing was moved to the side hall of the Hall of Mental Cultivation. Everyone who served Yuan Jing was locked up in the prison. When Lu Ruo entered, Yuan Sun just happened to be there. Your Majesty. Lu Ruo bowed. Because Lu Ruo had used her ancestral medicine to save Yuan Jing, Yuan Sun had given her special permission to visit the little prince at any time. But today, Yuan Sun's expression was a little off. Lu Ruo didn't understand. Why was this man throwing a tantrum again? Being in the king's company was like being in the company of a tiger. Lu Ruo lowered her head and silently cursed. Yuan Sun comforted Yuan Jing and had Lu Ruo follow him out. Lu Ruo felt even more uneasy. Was someone trying to harm her again? And Jowie, give us another portion of the medicine you gave Jing, last time. Ah. He was asking her for medicine? Yuan Sun's expression wasn't good. Lu Ruo hurriedly took out a porcelain bottle from her sleeve and handed it over. Fortunately, she hadn't used up all the medicine she exchanged from the system last time. Yuan Sun took the medicine and left. Lu Ruo was confused. System, what's wrong with him? Yuan Sun's favorability towards you has dropped to 50. Ah. She hadn't done anything. Wasn't it 60 before? Why was it 50 now? Host, I have to remind you that the medicine you exchanged is only a beginner's medicine. It's not enough to cure Yuan Jing. Lu Ruo felt like she'd been struck by lightning. After a while, Lu Ruo muttered, Then, how did he get better? I detected an energy fluctuation on his body. It should be Zhuang Qiong. Zhuang Qiong. What's Zhuang Qiong's favorability towards me? Sorry, it can't be detected. Why can't it be detected? Lu Ruo was a bit anxious. The favorability function had only appeared after the system's upgrade. Ever since she'd gotten it, she could clearly tell whether the people around her had good or bad intentions towards her. The other party might have an even more advanced system. I can't. Ever since that day, Lu Ruo had been unlucky. She was banished to the cold palace for the crime of deceiving the monarch. Instead, it was Shi Shang. Yuan Jing helped her improve her favorability in front of the male lead. When Shi Shang went in, Yuan Jing woke up once and vaguely saw her. When Shi Shang saw what Yuan Sun sent over, he rejected it completely. The male lead, we have a deep grudge. Why are you suddenly trying to curry favor with I? Don't think I'll let you off just because of this. September 9th, Yuan Sun's birthday. The vassal state of Xiliang sent the second prince to congratulate him. The eldest prince? The eldest prince was in Dongjin. As the eldest prince of Xiliang, Ming Jin naturally had to attend. As for the state preceptor, Shi Shang was honored to have a seat there, probably because Yuan Jing had improved her favorability again. Of course, Shi Shang didn't know this. She only thought that the male lead might have gone crazy. Otherwise, he was plotting something. Shi Shang's seat wasn't high, but it wasn't low either. Ming Jin sat diagonally across from her, his head lowered. Who knew what he was thinking? Shi Shang thought that he was quite pitiful. He couldn't return to his own country, so he had to be a hostage here. State Preceptor. Yuan Jing swayed his small body, blocking Shi Shang's view. What? Shi Shang looked up at him. Yuan Jing clenched his fists and bowed solemnly. Thank you, State Preceptor, for saving my life. Shi Shang. This brat was muddle-headed and still recognized people? Not bad. How is the little prince going to thank her? His Majesty actually made her the State Preceptor. Why didn't the memorial we submitted have any effect at all? Sure. What do you know? She's very strange. Maybe she really has some skills. The strange happenings at Jai Xinglu were spreading through the streets and alleys. There were stories about how you couldn't enter the door, how you couldn't find your way out, and how there was always a white shadow floating around Jai Xinglu at night. Some people said that a demon lived in Jai Xinglu, while others said that a god lived in Jai Xinglu. She had made up one novel after another. White Shadow Ming Jin. You're the ghost. Your whole family are ghosts. Is there a ghost as handsome as me? Shi Shang. Haha. Ming Jin. Chapter 468. As the only prince, Yuan Jing toasted Shi Shang, intimidating some of the restless people who wanted to find trouble with her. As the only prince, Yuan Jing naturally sat next to Yuan Sun. When it was about time, Yuan Sun and the second prince of Xiliang entered. But who could tell her what was going on with the radiant female lead that came in with Yuan Sun? What happened to the cold palace? What happened to falling out of favor? How did this look like falling out of favor? What the hell? Mr. Plotline, you can do it. As long as the female lead doesn't die, you can make them be together no matter what, right? Even if the male lead was in the North Pole and the female lead was in the South Pole, they would still meet. This was fate. Fate my ass. Mr. Plotline, you idiot. Shi Shang dug his fingers into the table, and the people around him couldn't help but scoot back. No one offended her, so why did she look like she wanted to kill someone? That was scary. Lu Ruo and Yuan Sun sat together on the dragon throne. Lu Ruo glanced at Shi Shang. Their gazes met for a second, then Lu Ruo looked away and sat next to Yuan Sun. Yuan Sun exchanged a few simple words with the second prince of Xiliang, his perfunctory attitude obvious. I've heard that the State Preceptor is extremely capable. I wonder if this prince has the honor of meeting you? The second prince suddenly changed the topic to Shi Shang. Only then did Shi Shang notice the second prince. He dressed like a dog and looked like a human, but he didn't look like Ming Jin at all. It wasn't that he wasn't good-looking, but he wasn't as good-looking as Ming Jin. Ming Jin gave off the feeling of a cool breeze. When it brushed past you, you felt comfortable all over and didn't have any sharp thorns. As for the second prince, he had the pride that all princes had. Since Yuan Sun was being perfunctory, he naturally had to find trouble. The best kind of trouble was Shi Shang, the State Preceptor. The atmosphere immediately became tense. No. Shi Shang grinned. Some of the surrounding officials looked at the second prince with gloating eyes. This person didn't even give face to His Majesty, let alone a mere prince like you. The second prince was thick-skinned and was not angry at being rejected. I heard that the State Preceptor was once a concubine in the harem, but you can become the State Preceptor. This prince is very impressed. The surrounding ministers didn't even dare to breathe loudly. You actually dare to mention this in front of the emperor? You're courting death. Shi Shang replied calmly, Thank you. This prince also heard that the imperial preceptor has a very close relationship with my brother. Shi Shang suddenly raised his head and stared at the second prince with calm eyes. That gaze caused a chill to run down his spine. It was as if someone was strangling his throat, making him unable to say a single word. How can the second prince believe the rumors in the neighborhood so easily? This was related to the reputation of their country, so naturally, there were officials who came out to smooth things over. However, the minister was complaining in his heart. Xiliang was just a vassal state. How dare he pick a fight with the second prince? Was there something wrong with his brain? The second prince quickly averted his gaze. Why is this woman's gaze so scary? Ha ha. This prince doesn't have any other intentions. My royal brother has been here for many years, and this prince is just concerned about him. Ming Jin's gaze swept over. His gaze was as gentle as a spring breeze, causing the second prince to stiffen. Ming Jin only glanced at the second prince before retracting his gaze. His lips curved slightly as he looked over at Shi Sheng. After not seeing him for so long, Shi Sheng felt that Ming Jin was even more perverted than before. The second prince covered his lips with his fist and coughed twice to cover up his embarrassment. Today, this prince has brought a special birthday gift. He clapped his hands, and people immediately carried in an object half the height of a person covered by a red cloth. The second prince stood up and walked to the center of the room. This prince spent a lot of effort to obtain this. Why don't all of you identify it and see who can recognize it? Shi Sheng. When transmigrating to the palace, there would definitely be envoys from other countries who would bring things that shouldn't exist in this era to make things difficult for them. In the end, the female lead would be slapped in the face and rise to the throne. This was no different from delivering his head on a platter. So what was that thing under the red cloth? The second prince proudly tore off the red cloth to reveal the object underneath. It was a grandfather clock. The workmanship was exquisite, but it didn't move. This thing couldn't have fallen into this world from another time and space, right? No matter how you looked at it, it didn't seem to be of this world's standard. Lu Ruo clearly recognized it at a glance, but the surrounding officials were whispering to each other. Not a single person recognized it. How is it? Does anyone recognize it? The second prince's hand rested on the top of the grandfather clock, full of pride. Yuan Sun's sharp gaze swept across the crowd, and everyone lowered their heads. They'd never seen this thing before, so how could they recognize it? Your Majesty. Lu Ruo moved closer to Yuan Sun and whispered in his ear. Yuan Sun's expression softened, and he said to Lu Ruo, "Just say it." With Yuan Sun's permission, Lu Ruo raised her voice. Second prince, is this thing called a clock? The second prince's expression changed. He probably hadn't expected anyone to actually recognize it. This clock is a kind of timekeeping tool. The hands in the middle are those tiny hands. They can rotate and move. Can you make them move, second prince? Lu Ruo continued. The second prince's expression turned even uglier. When he'd obtained this thing, it had indeed moved, but it hadn't moved for long. No matter what they did, it just wouldn't move. Second prince, Lady Jowie said this thing can move. Why don't you try making it move? Second prince, you should also broaden our horizons. That's right, that's right. The ministers took advantage of every opportunity to criticize the second prince. Cold sweat beaded on the second prince's forehead. He composed himself. Since Lady Jowie recognizes it, then she must know how to make it move. Lu Ruo stood up from her throne and slowly walked to the grandfather clock. Everyone watched her with bated breaths, and the atmosphere gradually became tense. Lu Ruo looked behind the grandfather clock for a while, frowning slightly. She couldn't see where it was wound. Strange, the clock in this era should be wound up. Lady Jowie? The second prince finally breathed a sigh of relief when Lu Ruo didn't move. Looking at her calm expression, he really thought that she knew. As long as she couldn't make it move, he wouldn't lose face. Lu Ruo's eyes turned, and she suddenly looked at the Shi Sheng. This humble girl has little talent and knowledge. Lord State Preceptor is experienced and knowledgeable. Why don't you give it a try? The Shi Sheng, female lead, don't talk nonsense. I'm just here to watch the show. I'm not helping you, and you're tricking me like this. What happened to being innocent and kind? State Preceptor is so powerful. There's no harm in giving it a try. It doesn't matter if I say something wrong. The second prince looked magnanimous. The Shishang's face stiffened, and he said in all seriousness, I don't understand. See? Don't understand? Everyone, Lord State Preceptor, is it really okay for you to be so straightforward? Asterisk little fairy. I want chicken-flavored tickets today. Cherub. No, only durian. Little fairy. Chapter 469. State Preceptor, this concerns the reputation of the nation. If you know, don't hide it. The minister beside him suppressed his fear and stepped forward to speak to Shishang. If I don't understand, I just don't understand. Their voices weren't soft, and everyone in the hall heard them. Lu Rua knew, but she couldn't say anything. State Preceptor, are you looking down on this prince's gift? Shishang rested his chin on his other hand, the corners of his lips rising slightly. Ming Jin knew that she was about to say something unpleasant, so he looked at the second prince sympathetically. Do you know what this thing is called? Didn't her ladyship Jiaoyi mention it just now? The second prince didn't know what Shishang was up to. This thing is called a clock. Shishang's smile grew even brighter. You're giving a clock to someone on their birthday. Are you going to change your name and acknowledge the thief as your father? Give a clock. Send off the dead. Those with quick reflexes understood and stared at the second prince with unfriendly expressions. But State Preceptor, what are your words? What do you mean by acknowledging the thief as your father? The second prince didn't understand. Why can't I give a clock? Of course you can. I didn't say you couldn't. The second prince scoffed, ignoring the looks his people were giving him. He said disdainfully, if you can't make it turn, don't change the subject. Shishang's eyes curved. If I make it turn, how about you promise me something? What is it? The second prince frowned. It's not difficult. Just go outside and run around Vermilion Bird Street naked. Everyone. That's not difficult. The second prince gritted his teeth. What if you can't make it turn? Shishang didn't care. You can state your conditions. The second prince weighed the pros and cons and wanted to back out. This woman was so confident that she might really be able to make the clock move. This? Shishang looked at him with a half-smile. Anger rose in the second prince's heart. If he admitted defeat, he would be embarrassing Western Liang. Perhaps this woman was just bluffing to scare him. He'd asked so many people to make it turn, but they hadn't. He didn't believe that she could. The second prince made up his mind and gritted his teeth. Fine. Bring it here, Shishang ordered the second prince. Lord Imperial Advisor, you're so arrogant. The second prince was so angry that his face turned green. Forget it if you don't want to move. The second prince was speechless. The second prince ordered his men to carry the clock to Shishang, and Shishang ordered his men to put it down. Shishang took out a few non-fu batteries and opened the cover at the bottom. He dug out the batteries that were already oxidized and put them in. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. A crisp voice rang out in the hall. Shishang raised his chin at the second prince, indicating for him to help him up. Lu Ruo was stunned. It's actually a battery? How could there be something with batteries in this era? This was too illogical. The Shishang expert had a cold expression on his face. This was very scientific. He could say that it had fallen from another parallel dimension. After all, if you can pass through, why can't the items pass through? Right. In the virtual world, one's imagination was the most important thing. It's not like I'm playing with your sister. A few people lifted the clock, and the ticking sound became even clearer. The second hand was moving very quickly. Everyone had different expressions. The hall was silent, and only the ticking of the clock could be heard. When is the second prince going to run naked? Shishang asked with a smile, cupping his face with his hands. Who doesn't know how to be pretentious? I'm the ancestor of the pretentious world. The second prince was speechless. Lord Imperial Advisor, don't joke with the second prince. Yuan soon broke the silence. After all, it was his vassal state. He couldn't go overboard. Who's joking with him? Shishang's lips twitched. Today, either he goes by himself, or I do it. But if I do it, I don't know if he'll be able to return to Western Liang alive. Yuan Sun shouted coldly, Lord Imperial Advisor, what are you shouting for? Shishang dug his ears. I'm not deaf. The hall fell eerily silent again. No one dared to speak. Wherever the Lord Imperial Advisor was, there would be war. He was a walking biological weapon. As a man, once a promise is made, it's hard to take it back. Is the second prince thinking of going back on his word? Shishang saw that the second prince didn't say anything, so he added, Who wants to go back on his word? Let's run. Yuan Sun couldn't stop him even if he wanted to. He could only watch as the second prince ran naked on Vermilion Bird Street. Fortunately, the sky was getting dark, and there weren't many people on Vermilion Bird Street. Not many people knew that the second prince was running naked on Vermilion Bird Street with his head covered. However, the officials' gazes became very subtle. They were secretly pleased. Who told you to be so smug? Now you've failed, haven't you? The second prince couldn't stand those gazes. He left early and went back to the relay station to lick his wounds. Once the second prince left, the other officials began to present Yuan Sun with gifts. Gifts for the emperor didn't have to be the most expensive. They only had to be expensive and unique. After the gifts were given, it was time for singing and dancing, and a drunken stupor. Shishang left the banquet first and went outside to get some fresh air. Suddenly, a hand reached out from behind and pressed on his shoulder, pulling him into the fake mountain nearby. Shishang reflexively pulled out his sword and stabbed forward with lightning speed. Hiss! Ming Jin looked at his arm, which had been cut by the iron sword, and felt a little helpless. Miss Zhuang, can't you be a little gentler? Who told you to sneak attack me? Shishang withdrew the iron sword. Her gaze paused on Ming Jin's arm. It was very easy to see the white clothes and blood, even in the dark. I've thought about it. Ming Jin casually bandaged his arm. I can agree to Miss Zhuang's suggestion last time. Shishang, no, we won't agree. We really won't agree this time. Goodbye. Shishang turned to flee, but Ming Jin quickly grabbed her and pressed her against the fake mountain. His smiling voice carried a hint of dominance. Miss Zhuang, it's too late to back out now. Shishang had nothing to lose. You'll agree even if you're down there? Ming Jin bent down and buried his head in her neck, gently biting it. As long as I can be with you, I'm willing to do anything. Shishang's heart trembled. The ticklish feeling on her neck made her feel a little irritated. We've only met a few times. Don't you think this kind of relationship is very strange? You're different. Ming Jin hugged her even tighter. From the moment I saw you, I knew you were different. He suddenly chuckled. In the past, I didn't believe in past lives. But when I saw you, I kept feeling that we'd been together before, and that we should be together in this life. No one can stop us. Shishang's heart skipped a beat. His memories. Were they recovering? The system should have been clear about his memories every time. In the past, he'd only felt a sense of familiarity after she'd sent her spiritual energy into his body. But now, he felt a sense of familiarity even though she hadn't sent her spiritual energy into his body at all. The system was about to lose control of Feng Xiai. Shishang didn't know why, but this thought popped into his head. She had always understood that there were many people in this world who were so powerful that it made one's hair stand on end. She was not the only one, but only one of them. She was different from some people. She was more cold-blooded and selfish, and more unafraid of death. That was why she stood taller than them. So Feng Xiai, are you also one of them? Chapter 470. Shishang licked his dry lips and gazed calmly into the darkness in the distance. The two of them embraced each other in a strange yet intimate position. After a long while, Shishang pushed him away. Let me think about it. Ming Jin leaned in and quickly pecked her on the lips. No matter what your answer is, don't even think about running away. Shi Shang. Think about it, my ass. No, no. She wanted her adorable Feng Ci. This pervert was definitely not her Feng Ci. He wasn't. He wasn't. He definitely wasn't. Shi Shang brainwashed himself repeatedly. Ming Jin had no idea that because of his suicidal words, Shi Shang, who had already loosened up a little, immediately kicked him out. Ming Jin had sensed that she wasn't that repulsed by him earlier, but in the blink of an eye, she was once again in a state of, "Stay away from me, or else I'll hack you to pieces." Ming Jin was dumbfounded. Was his confession not vivid enough? When Shi Shang returned, he discovered that the Imperial Guards had actually surrounded the entire hall. It had been fine when they left, but how long had it been? Shi Shang was still dumbfounded. What was this? Was this a rebellion? What are you doing? Ming Jin pulled Shi Shang from behind as she walked forward. Going in to watch the show, Shi Shang said with a straight face. Let go. Ming Jin frowned. The Zhuang family is rebelling. Are you courting death? Oh, the Zhuang family actually dared to rebel. Ming Jin. She wasn't from the Zhuang family? She actually looked like she was taking pleasure in his misfortune. How do you know that the Zhuang family is rebelling? Shi Shang suddenly realized that she didn't even know that the Zhuang family was rebelling. I know a lot. If Miss Zhuang agrees, I can tell you a lot of things. Curiosity killed the cat, Shi Shang said calmly. Ming Jin was defeated. How could he have fallen for such a difficult woman? I'll go take a look myself. Shi Shang rushed out of Ming Jin's line of defense and into the hall amidst the clamor of the Imperial Guards. Master! Ming Jin was pulled back by Ji Yuan, who had come out from the side. You can't go in. What kind of bewitching potion did that woman give his master? Don't you know what's going on inside? He actually wanted to rush inside. Let go. Master! Ji Yuan stomped his feet in anger. He wanted to kill that woman. Ming Jin's usually gentle face actually showed some coldness in the flickering firelight. Ji Yuan knew that Ming Jin was angry. He gritted his teeth and released Ming Jin. Ming Jin immediately rushed in the direction of the hall. Ji Yuan stood where he was, gnashing his teeth in anger. Master, what do you mean by this? Several shadows appeared behind Ji Yuan. What do we do now? Do you want to fight? Master didn't say anything. All units are on standby. Ji Yuan disappeared into the night, leaving behind a circle of confused black shadows. The situation in the hall was very tense. Zhuang Fu brought his henchmen to arrest Yuan Sun's men. When the Shi Shang rushed in, the people inside panicked for a moment. When they saw who it was, they calmed down. Shi Shang was a member of the Zhuang family. She couldn't possibly help him deal with the Zhuang family, right? Ming Jin stepped in after Shi Shang. The sudden appearance of two people had already attracted the attention of the people in front of them. Zhuang Fu glanced in Shi Shang's direction, then waved a hand at someone. Shi Shang walked unimpeded to the center of the hall. Zhuang Fu only glanced at her, then clasped his hands behind his back and said to Yuan Sun, "Back then, Emperor Xiaowen left behind 2 posthumous edicts. Did your majesty hear about them?" Emperor Xiaowen was the late emperor's father. Shi Shang raised his brows. The Zhuang family actually knew about the posthumous edicts? Yuan Sun's expression darkened. Lord Zhuang, what are you saying? Lord Zhuang, rebellion is a heinous crime. Even if you ascend the throne today, you will still be reviled by the world. Zhuang Fu sneered. Back then, the late emperor passed down a fake edict to seize the throne. None of my colleagues knew, right? Yuan Sun's throne came from an illegitimate background. I'm helping him ascend the throne. How can this be considered rebellion? What? Passing down a fake edict? That's impossible. The late emperor was the crown prince back then. It's normal for him to inherit the throne. Don't forget about Emperor Xiaowen's most favored third prince. Perhaps this really is possible. Lord Zhuang, Since you said you have a posthumous edict, then take it out for everyone to see, someone said loudly. Zhuang Fu was well prepared. He had someone bring out the posthumous edict. The contents of the edict conferred the late emperor the title of King Ping. He was given land in Jinbei and was not allowed to return to the capital without an edict. Elder Lin, take a look. Is this Emperor Xiaowen's handwriting? There were several senior officials present. They took turns passing down the edict. It is indeed Emperor Xiaowen's authentic handwriting, several senior officials whispered to each other. Now, the officials' expressions were colorful. There were many secrets about the imperial family. It wasn't as if this had never happened before. Back then, the third prince was very favored. At the time, many people wondered if Emperor Xiaowen would pass the throne to the third prince. After all, the third prince was more suitable for the throne than the crown prince. But in the end, the crown prince ascended the throne. The third prince became an idle prince, living in the capital all year round. Now that they thought about it, the third prince didn't stay in the capital willingly. He was under house arrest. At the time, the late emperor had just ascended the throne. If he dealt with the third prince immediately, it would have caused some dissatisfaction among the senior officials and caused unrest in the imperial court. More than 10 years later, the late emperor completely took over the throne. Only then did he make a move on the third prince. He executed the entire family, including the children. The officials who had experienced that incident felt a chill down their spines when they thought about it. Lord Zhuang, since this posthumous edict conferred the title of the late emperor, then where is the real edict for succession? Someone asked. Zhuang Fu only had that one copy of the edict. He didn't know where the edict for succession was. Zhuang Fu said calmly, "Why would the late emperor keep that edict?" Back then, the third prince's entire family was executed. The entire third prince's residence was emptied. Why would the late emperor keep the edict? Could this little evidence prove that the late emperor faked the edict? The third prince suffered an unjust injustice. Today, I am seeking justice for the third prince. Zhuang Fu's voice was powerful. But the third prince is already dead. He has no descendants. There's no point in pursuing this matter. Another official stepped forward. That incident happened so long ago. It has nothing to do with His Majesty. Lord Zhuang, why are you harping on the past? Who said the third prince has no descendants? Lord Zhuang sneered. Everyone looked at each other. The third prince had descendants? Zhuang Fu suddenly looked at Shi Sheng. Shi Sheng, why did he have a bad feeling about this? Xiao Qiong is the third prince's descendant. Pfft. The hall fell into an eerie silence. Shi Sheng's expression changed. Sorry, I couldn't help it. She was the third prince's daughter? Damn it, then wasn't she and Yuan Sun scared? It was someone else in the previous world. Why was it happening to him now? It was awkward. Little fairy. This story is a bit complicated. I don't understand. Please skip it. It'll be over soon. #inspirational and little fairy with Easter eggs in every world #. Chapter 471. The male lead, who had been silent all this time, swept his sharp gaze over Shi Sheng and broke the silence. As far as we know, the third imperial uncle only had one son. He never had a daughter. That's right. How could the third prince have a daughter? Lord Zhuang, don't spout nonsense. The third prince's child died a long time ago. We saw him being buried with our own eyes. How could he still be alive and become a woman? Wave after wave of questions flooded the room. However, Zhuang Fu remained calm. The third princess consort raised Xiao Qiong as a boy. Naturally, outsiders didn't know she was a girl. All right, that was a reasonable explanation. Then how do you explain coming back from the dead? Zhuang Fu cleared his throat. If the third prince hadn't done that, do you think he would have been able to keep his only child? Everyone looked at each other. This is the princess consort's jade pendant. I'm sure everyone recognizes it. Zhuang Fu took out another object. It was similar in appearance to the jade pendant Shi Shang had received from Ming Jin, but the patterns were different. Some people passed it around to look at it, and there was another round of whispers. Every prince had 2 special jade pendants. After a prince got married, one of them was given to his first wife as a symbol of her status. Anyone could have gotten this jade pendant. It was possible that someone had taken advantage of the chaos to get the jade pendant. Don't you know what this jade pendant represents? No prince or princess has ever lost it. If the jade exists, the person lives. If the jade is destroyed, the person dies. Do you have any other evidence besides this, Lord Zhuang? Do you expect us to believe your one-sided story and a jade pendant? Shi Shang looked at the group of people debating with an amused expression. However, this also explained why Zhuang Fu was so insistent on her giving birth to a child. She was a girl, so there was no way she could inherit the throne. Only by giving birth to a boy could Zhuang Fu push the boy onto the throne. Zhuang Fu had probably started this coup because he had fallen out with Yuan Sun and had no other choice. The third prince and the late emperor didn't have the same mother. In Yuan Sun's generation, their blood relationship was even weaker. It should be possible for the third prince to have a child with Yuan Sun. I have a witness, Zhuang Fu shouted. The argument immediately stopped. Zhuang Fu ordered someone to bring in a witness. There were 2 of them in total. One of them was the nanny who had delivered the baby, and the other was the maid who accompanied the third princess consort when she was married. Later, she was chased out of the prince's mansion for stealing and escaped. The midwife confirmed that it was indeed a girl back then. Because Wang Fei was afraid of losing favor with a girl, she deliberately hid the fact that it was a boy from third Wangye. The dowry maidservant was chased out of the Wang Fu. Wang Fei asked her to find someone to dig up the child after the burial and take the child away from here. However, she did not expect that by the time she arrived, the child was already gone. Recently, Zhuang Fu came to find her. Only then did she know that the third prince had also secretly looked for Zhuang Fu to ask for his help. The truth behind her departure was known by all the people who served third Wangye and Wang Fei. Third Wangye was probably afraid that someone would leak the secret, so he went to Zhuang Fu. She was originally a woman disguised as a man. Zhuang Fu only needed to restore her to her female form and raise her at home for a few years. Girls in ancient times were rarely seen by outsiders, so naturally, no one suspected anything. Back then, third Wangye had no intention of rebelling at all. It was the late emperor who forced third Wangye into a dead end. In the end, he even labeled third Wangye a traitor. Old officials back then, don't you know what kind of person third Wangye was? As soon as Zhuang Fu said this, some of the old officials wavered. These people were all neutral back then, but they were wise to protect themselves. If they really had to choose, third Wangye was naturally more suitable for the throne. We can help reverse the verdict regarding third imperial uncle's matter. Yuan Sun took a step back. If what Lord Zhuang says is true, we can make Zhuang Qiong empress, and we will not pursue Lord Zhuang's matter today. Humph, the throne should have been third Wangye's. What right do you have to sit there? Today, I'm taking back what belongs to third Wangye. Zhuang Fu was clearly unwilling to back down. Zhuang Fu only had a proper title. To put it bluntly, he was still forcing the emperor to abdicate. Today, he was going to drag Yuan Sun down. Yuan Sun narrowed his eyes, a dangerous glint in them. Shi Shang pursed his lips. Zhuang Fu, you're still too naive. Would the male lead let you jump around so easily? The male lead was clearly stalling for time. Father, why don't you kill him first? Shi Shang egged Zhuang Fu on. Everyone, what are you trying to do? Is the emperor someone you can kill just because you want to? Yuan Sun glared at Shi Shang. This woman was indeed on their side. Zhuang Fu looked at Shi Shang in confusion. Shi Shang kindly explained, if you wait any longer, his men will come. When that time comes, you'll be the one in jail. Zhuang Fu was enlightened by Shi Shang. He waved his hand. Kill. Anyway, he had a name. As for how these people died, he just needed to find a reason. The Imperial Guards surrounding Yuan Sun immediately rushed over. However, halfway through, they suddenly turned around and attacked Zhuang Fu's group together with Yuan Sun's men. Shi Shang shook his head. He knew it would be like this. If you can instigate a rebellion, so can others. However, Zhuang Fu's reaction was a little unexpected. He didn't panic at all. The tightly shut palace windows were forcefully broken open. Countless men in black jumped in and joined the battle. Zhuang Fu looked at Yuan Sun through the chaotic crowd and sneered. Your Majesty, you underestimate me too much. How could I trust them? Yuan Sun clenched his fists. He glared at Zhuang Fu with reddened eyes, a raging fire burning in his eyes. Your Majesty, let's retreat. We can't hold them off. De Gonggong pulled Yuan Sun back. Why isn't General Wei here yet? Your Majesty, there's no need to wait for General Wei. I've blocked him 5 kilometers away. Zhuang Fu quickly dispelled De Gonggong's confusion. If he hadn't made sufficient preparations today, how could he have forced the Emperor to abdicate? Your Majesty, let's go. Your Majesty. Ah. The scene grew more and more chaotic. Ming Jin forcefully escorted Shi Shang to the edge of the battlefield. Girls shouldn't fight and kill. Ming Jin firmly held Shi Shang in place. Who do you want to kill? I'll help you. I don't want to kill anyone. Shi Shang glared at him. Do you think I'm such a rude person? You are. Who allowed you to speak? Do you want to be torn apart? Sob, 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 I'm scared. Faint ripples appeared in Ming Jin's eyes. You look like you're going to eat someone alive. You still don't want to kill anyone? I really don't want to kill anyone. Shi Shang weakly defended himself. Although she did have that thought earlier, when she thought about the male and female lead's powerful immortality buff, she cowered. Although she'd been trying to kill the male and female leads, reality had proven that this buff was invincible. She hadn't found a bug yet. Asterisk Ming Jin. Who do you want to kill? I'll help you. Shi Shang, you. Ming Jin. The weather's so nice today. I'll take you to see the stars. Shi Shang. Didn't you say you were willing to die for me? Ming Jin. When did I say that? Shi Shang. Haha. Ming Jin. You'd be so upset if I died. I'd rather not die. Shi Shang. Haha. Chapter 472. Ever since that night, Shi Shang hadn't seen Ming Jin again. The male and female leads had run away in the end. Shi Shang felt that only villains who could defeat the male and female leads were true villains. Zhuang Fu deserved to be cannon fodder. If it had been her, she would have killed the 2 of them that night. She didn't believe that someone could fly to save them. Well, that wasn't impossible either. After all, luck was something that couldn't be seen or touched, but it was a very awesome thing. Because of such a big thing, she didn't even care when the second prince of Western Liang left. Zhuang Fu definitely couldn't ascend the throne, and Shi Shang, his shield, didn't do anything. Zhuang Fu could only push Yuan Jing onto the throne. All that talk about helping the third prince clear his name was nonsense. Zhuang Fu's true goal was to control the court. Yuan Jing was just a child under his control. What could he do? Shi Shang still held the title of state preceptor, and spent his days either eating or sleeping. She no longer planned on doing missions. This is the first time the system has seen such a willful host. Another winter. Shi Shang stood at the highest point of Zhaixing Lu, watching the sounds of fighting in the distance. He hadn't expected that Ming Jin would charge in before the male and female leads had returned. In less than a year, the court had been shaken twice. Shi Shang pulled his cloak tighter around him. How cold. The first thing Ming Jin did after ascending the throne was to clear the third prince's name. The second thing was to marry the eldest princess of Western Liang. Shi Shang was stunned when he heard this news. You've dug your own grave, haven't you? The system's icy voice seemed to be gloating. Shi Shang was only surprised for a second before regaining his composure. The host wouldn't want to kill Feng Ci and perish together, right? The entire palace was covered in red silk. The wedding procession traveled from Yangxin Palace to Jiaxing Lu. Shi Shang wasn't surprised at all. When did you find out? The system was even more excited than Shi Shang. When I received the posthumous edict. Shi Shang watched as the wedding procession drew closer and closer. The true son of the third prince was Ming Jin. Back then, the Empress of Xiliang gave birth to a pair of twins. In order to protect the prince, she sent the baby girl to East Jin as a hostage. Because the third prince and the Emperor of Xiliang had a personal relationship, he promised to help them hide the truth. However, in order to protect his child, the third prince had no choice but to exchange their identities. At the time, Zhuang Qiong and Ming Jin had both been drugged and their faces were covered in red spots. They were about the same age and height. The third prince claimed that the disease was contagious, so naturally, no one dared to take a closer look. Ming Jin was sent to Hidden Cloud Temple as a hostage. Zhuang Qiong faked her death and was sent to the Zhuang family to regain her identity as a woman. As for Weiyang Palace, it was the bedroom of Princess Royal of Xiliang. Zhuang Qiong was the Princess Royal of Western Liang. Ming Jin had always known, but he had never said anything. Shi Shang looked down at the handsome man who was a complete stranger. Her lips tugged into a smile. Look. Even his appearance was fake. Host, please calm down. He had no choice but to hide this. Why are you so nervous? I didn't say anything. If not, why did you take out your sword? Ming Jin stood outside Jiaxing Lu in his red wedding robes. The red wedding procession was like a red plum blossom blooming in the white snow. Ming Jin looked up at Shi Shang standing on Jiaxing Lu. No matter what, he had to have her. Shi Shang jumped down from Jiaxing Lu and landed lightly on the courtyard wall. You already knew? Ming Jin's voice was a little hoarse, and there was a slight tremor in it. Shi Shang smiled. What do you think? When did you find out? I even received a letter from Yulong Pavilion. Perhaps Yuan Mo's conscience was uneasy, for he had written this down. Ming Jin was silent for a moment. I must marry you today. That depends on whether you have the ability. Ming Jin's eyes darkened. Just as he was about to grab Shi Shang, countless arrows suddenly shot in from the outside like raindrops. Shi Shang's iron sword flashed in the air, blocking a few arrows. The iron sword in his hand suddenly enlarged. Shi Shang stepped on the iron sword and charged toward the arrows. Zhuang Qiong. Host. Two voices rang out at the same time, but Shi Shang's figure didn't stop. Shi Shang returned to the system space and stood silently in front of the screen. A scene played on the screen again and again. Yuan Sun snuck in with his men, ready to kill Ming Jin. Shi Shang forcefully killed Yuan Sun, and the plane suddenly began to crumble. The scene was very shocking. It was as if a mirror had been shattered, and all the scenes shattered. Darkness surged in from the outside, corroding the world. The last thing Shi Shang saw was Ming Jin running toward her. The light and shadow parted, and she was already standing in the system space. Host, due to your actions, you will be imprisoned for 48 hours. Shi Shang twisted his neck, but didn't say anything. The scene around her slowly changed, finally forming a small circular room. There was nothing in the room, only a sheet of white. The kind of white that would cause snow blindness if one looked at it for too long. Shi Shang leaned against the wall and sat down. Kill the male lead, and the plane collapsed. How interesting. Even if the plane collapsed, she would only be imprisoned for 48 hours. I thought there would be some terrible punishment. At that moment, the system was complaining to its master. Master, look at her. Look at what she's thinking. I can't stand her. The figure on the screen was still blurry. The information she shared with you was only what she wanted you to know. The system recalled the smug look on her face when it scanned its host. Recently, she could even tell what it was thinking. This host was practically going to heaven. Master, why is she so repulsed by Feng Ci in this plane? They were clearly the same person, and she admitted that she liked him, but why couldn't she accept him? It really couldn't understand its host's brain. Because she's afraid. Afraid. Afraid of what? What was there to be afraid of? The system was even more confused. She's probably afraid that she'll fall in love with Feng Ci. That kind of Feng Ci had a fatal attraction to her, but she's too rational. She'll nip that bud clean. Don't choose that kind of target in the future. The more you force her, the more rational she'll be. Reality proved that the host's words were completely untrustworthy. Master really understood her. Sob, sob, sob. Master, please protect me. Shi Shang was released after being imprisoned for 48 hours. The system didn't waste any time and showed him his information. Name, Shi Shang. Moral points, 192000 life points. 20, cause the plane to collapse. Life points halved. Points, 30,000 mission grade, B mission points, 40 hidden mission, failed hidden mission reward, none side mission, failed side mission, none, for 1,000 points deducted, item list, Queen's Crown, Ghost King's Heart. Dark Knight Shi Shang looked at the terrible information and sighed. His moral points were actually deducted by more than 30,000 points. The male lead's head was really valuable. But it felt good to kill him. The dark host was really scary. Do you want to enter the next plane? Initializing transfer. Asterisk, the 15th plane was completed. This plane was to deduct points, haha. Chapter 473. Shang, Director Zhong just called me and said that the female lead of Proud Son has been confirmed. It's a newcomer. Didn't the director say it was you when you went for the audition? Why did he suddenly change his mind? Shi Shang looked at the chattering woman in front of him, dumbfounded. He couldn't understand what she was talking about. Why are you in a daze? The woman was anxious. New Year movie? The entertainment industry? Shi Shang blinked and spoke slowly. I want to be alone for a while. He had to receive the plot first, or else he wouldn't understand what she was talking about. The woman saw that Shi Shang didn't look good. Thinking about such a big thing, she must be upset too. I'll call and ask. Don't think too much. There's no official press conference yet. Nothing is certain yet. The woman patted Shi Shang's shoulder and walked out of the room with her phone. Shi Shang got up and locked the room before receiving the plot. This was a revenge story about rebirth in the entertainment industry. The female lead, Wan Qiao, had a failed marriage in her previous life. Thinking that she had married a good man, she gave up her career and everything for him. Only when she died did she realize that she had married a jerk. The female lead was reborn to the time when she had just entered the entertainment industry. After her rebirth, the female lead naturally had to work hard and stand at the top of the entertainment industry. Because of the opportunity in the future, the female lead grabbed a lot of good resources, and with her acting skills, she became famous overnight. During the celebration party, the female lead was drugged and met the president of the entertainment company, Su Mu Yuan, who had returned to China to take over the female lead's entertainment company. The two naturally got together. The next day, it was all over the news. The male lead thought that it was a publicity stunt by the female lead. At first, he didn't like the female lead, but later on, he was attracted to the female lead. With the male lead as the president, it was easy for the female lead to reach the top of the entertainment industry. The original owner, Lon Shang, was the eldest daughter of the Lon Group. She had been in the entertainment industry since young and had participated in more than 10 classic works. She even won the Best Actress award at a young age. The original owner was supposed to act in the New Year movie Proud Son to further her career. However, the female lead was reborn and took away the original owner's role in Proud Son. The original owner missed the opportunity and also missed the best opportunity to develop overseas. For someone like the original host who was already famous, she had to choose the script when acting. However, the female lead would always try to snatch the ones she chose. During that period of time, the original host had almost no good roles and was even reduced to being a supporting role for the female lead. The original host had a good temper, but the female lead kept stealing scenes from her, and every time she succeeded, the original host naturally couldn't take it lying down, so she started to get people to suppress the female lead. On the other hand, the more the female lead fought, the braver she became. The more pressure you gave her, the stronger she became. Under the suppression of the original host, although the female lead had some setbacks, the results were all good, and her path to stardom became smoother and smoother. On the other hand, because of the existence of the female lead, the original host was uneasy. The characters she played were not as spirited as before, and her popularity dropped rapidly. At the most critical moment when the two of them were competing against each other, the Lon Group's capital chain had problems. For the Lon family, the host tried to establish a relationship with the male lead. She wanted to steal the male lead? How could she do that? For the sake of her man, the female lead immediately started a catfight. The host, who was already mentally and physically exhausted, couldn't concentrate after being angered by the female lead. She fell off the horse while acting and was hospitalized. While she was hospitalized, the female lead announced her engagement with the male lead, and their relationship was officially established. At this point, there was nothing left for her to do. In the end, the original host married an old man, but the Lon Group still couldn't escape this disaster. The original host's only relative, her brother Lon Ching, died in a car accident because of the Lon Group and her. The original host died of dystocia. On the day she gave birth, the female lead also gave birth. The two of them were sent to the same hospital, but there was only one doctor who didn't perform the surgery. The male lead had power and influence, so naturally, he pulled the doctor to the female lead. When the doctor finished delivering the female lead, the original host couldn't hold on any longer. She died on the operating table, and the child didn't survive either. The original host had two wishes. The first was to protect the Lon Group and Lon Ching. The second was to take revenge. It was fine that the female lead stole her role, but in the end, when she gave birth, she was pushed into the operating room, but under the male lead's order, she was thrown into the operating room for a few hours. After receiving the plot, Shi Shang sighed. This plot. It was all a plot point. F***CK. Is this the only hospital? The city was so big, and there were so many hospitals. Did it have to be there to give birth? Even if the male lead sent the doctor to the female lead, he could have just changed to another hospital. Why wouldn't he change? Were all their brains eaten by zombies? In order to make the evil female lead die a miserable death, the author really went all out. The time she came was the crucial time for the female lead to steal the New Year's movie, Proud Son. The female lead was able to steal the movie because she got in touch with the movie's scriptwriter, Ai Weici. That was how she got the lead role. It wasn't impossible for her to steal it back now, but that would be boring. Forget it. The original host's manager was called Chan Yuan. She was known as the Goldfinger in the industry. She managed many people, but the only person she managed was the original host. Many people in the industry envied the original host for having such a good manager. This manager was quite good to the original host. When the original host was in trouble, she tried to find connections to help her. However, the original host had already offended the male lead. Those people were afraid of the male lead's power, so they didn't dare to help the original host. Shi Shang sat in the room for a while, then opened the door and went out. Chen Yuan was walking around outside, making a phone call. She didn't know what the other party said, but Chen Yuan angrily threw her phone. The phone fell to the ground, and the screen cracked into a spider web. Shi Shang, this manager was good at everything, but she had a bad temper and liked to throw her phone. She had to change her phone 3 to 4 times a month. Shen Shang. Chen Yuan saw Shi Shang coming out. Her expression was a bit stiff, but she still squeezed out a smile. There are a few more movies recently. I'll go and contact them. If they're suitable, I'll choose for you. Shi Shang listened to Chen Yuan and nodded calmly. It's up to Sister Chen. Chen Yuan knew that Lan Shang had a good temper, but she couldn't stand it this time. However, she looked at Shi Shang's face and could only swallow her anger. Proud Son was a big production. Even the 3 male and female leads were B-list stars. Wen Qiao, who came out of nowhere, got the role of the female lead. Who would believe that there was nothing fishy about it? Sister Chen, is there anything to eat? Shi Shang touched his stomach and looked at Chen Yuan. Chen Yuan, she was full from anger, but she was still thinking about food. Chen Yuan still went out to ask someone to buy some food. After Shi Shang was full, Chen Yuan started to make phone calls. Sigh, the entertainment industry. Chapter 474. Shi Shang had no interest in the entertainment industry. Fortunately, the original owner of this body did not have any requirements to stand at the top of the entertainment industry. Chen Yuan had left earlier. Shi Shang was bored and switched the TV channels. The female lead had not met the male lead yet. The male lead should still be abroad. Shi Shang took out his phone and sent a message to Lan Qing. Lan Qing had just finished a meeting. He was rubbing his temples when his phone rang. He unlocked the screen and saw the message. "Brother, are you free? I'll treat you to a big meal." The tiredness on Lan Qing's face disappeared. His fingers quickly typed a reply. "How can a busy person like you have time to eat with me today? You choose the address. Do you want me to pick you up? I'm here to pick you up." Lan Qing looked at the message and shook his head. What was this girl up to again? Lan Qing asked his secretary to come in and clear the rest of his schedule. The secretary's face was full of understanding. It must be the young mistress who asked the president out. Otherwise, the president would not reject his work. Everyone in the company silently gave Lan Qing a nickname: Crazy Sister, Spoiled Demon. Shi Shang parked the car in front of Lan Qing's company and waited for him to come down. There was a song playing in the car. The tune was very light. He wondered where Lan Qing had found it. Click. Suddenly, someone opened the car door. Shi Shang turned his head. The person standing in front of the car was wearing a cap. His head was lowered, so he could not see his face clearly. He was dressed like a gangster. He did not look like a good person. Shi Shang silently looked at the idiot's behavior. Did she not know how to lock the car door? The person tried to open the door but failed. Seeing that the person inside had no intention of opening the door, he ran away. A group of gangsters followed behind him and ran past his car. Shi Shang was speechless. Young people nowadays were so lively. Knock knock. Shi Shang saw that the person outside was Lan Qing and opened the car door. Lan Qing quickly got into the car and closed the door. His actions were smooth. Lan Qing looked very bright. After changing out of his suit, it would not be an exaggeration to say that he was a college student. His temperament was also very warm. "Is there something on my face? You've been staring at me since I got in." Lan Qing touched his face strangely. Shi Shang grinned. "No, it's just that you seem to have become more handsome." "Well, to hear you praise me, there must be something going on. Tell me, what do you want?" Lan Qing knew his sister's tricks well. Shi Shang pursed his lips and started the car. "I was just praising you. In the past, how many things did the previous host make this good brother do? Just by praising him, he already knew what was going on." "Thank you, Your Highness." Lan Qing took off his suit and threw it behind him. "Hey, Your Highness, where are we going for dinner?" "Let's go to Yihong Restaurant." Shi Shang followed Lan Qing's lead. The two siblings got along quite easily. Shi Shang drove the car to Yihong House. Yes, this place was called Yihong Lu, but because it had the same pronunciation as Yihong Lu, many people jokingly called it Yihong Lu. "Prince, we're here." Shi Shang nudged Lan Qing, who had his eyes closed. Lan Qing opened his eyes, stretched, and got out of the car. The guests here were all dignitaries, so the security was good. Reporters couldn't enter. Hence, Shi Shang didn't wear a mask. He got out of the car and walked in with Lan Qing. While waiting for the dishes, Lan Qing didn't give up. "Baby, what do you want to say? You're making me nervous." "Shi Shang. I'm just treating you to a meal. Don't let your imagination run wild, okay? Do you know Su Mu Yuan?" Shi Shang felt that if he didn't say something, Lan Qing wouldn't be able to enjoy the meal. "Su Mu Yuan? Which Su Mu Yuan? How many Su Mu Yuans do you know? The one from Tomorrow Entertainment." "Oh, him." Lan Qing frowned and looked at Shi Shang suspiciously. "My university classmate. Why are you asking about him? I remember he's still abroad. When did you meet him?" "University classmate. This wasn't in the plot." "I guess so. When I studied abroad, I studied in his class for a few months. Didn't I come back later?" It was during that time when Lan Qing's parents got into trouble and he came back to take over the Lan Group. "Why are you asking about him?" Lan Qing looked at Shi Shang with caution. "Baby, don't tell me you like him?" Shi Shang rolled his eyes at Lan Qing. "You're overthinking. Isn't my contract expiring soon?" "I'm just asking about the background of the entertainment company," Shi Shang said casually. "Your contract is expiring in a year. Don't talk nonsense." Lan Qing exposed Shi Shang directly. "Tell me, do you like him?" As the crazy sister doting demon, her contract was handled by him. How could he not know about it? Su Mu Yuan isn't a simple person. He's not someone you can control. If you want a boyfriend, you have to find someone who's easy to bully. Su Mu Yuan definitely can't do it. He's an old fox. Shi Shang. Who asked you to talk nonsense with the male lead? When the dishes were finally served, Shi Shang stopped Lan Qing with food. But after eating, Lan Qing started to brainwash him again. "I'm really just asking casually." Shi Shang was speechless. "Really?" Lan Qing put on an "I don't believe you. You must be lying to me" expression. "Really? If I lie to you, I'll gain 5 pounds. I've already made such a terrible oath. If you still don't believe me, then I can't do anything about it. Why is this brother so hard to please?" Lan Qing pondered for a moment and removed the "I don't believe you" expression. "I'll believe you for now." Shi Shang drove Lan Qing back to the company and asked casually, "Brother, do you know the higher-ups of the Proud Sun crew?" "What's wrong?" Lan Qing looked down at his phone. Suddenly, he heard Shi Shang's question and immediately looked up. He knew the crew of Proud Sun. Didn't his sister go for the audition? With her ability, she should have gotten the role. Why did he ask this now? "Oh, I want to get in through the back door," Shi Shang said calmly. Lan Qing was so shocked that he didn't hold his phone properly. It fell to the bottom of the car and made a dull thud. "Baby, are you upset?" Lan Qing reached out to touch Shi Shang's head. His sister wanted to get in through the back door. In the past, when he begged her to get in through the back door, she refused and said that she wanted to rely on her own ability. Now, she was telling him that she wanted to get in through the back door? "I'm driving. What are you doing?" Shi Shang slapped his hand away. "You didn't get the role in Proud Sun?" Lan Qing found his voice after a long time. "Someone took it from me." After hearing Shi Shang's words, Lan Qing finally calmed down. It was common for someone to take a role in the entertainment industry. You have your ways and I have my schemes. It was just a matter of who was better. But it was his sister who took the role. That was unacceptable. Lan Qing bent down to pick up his phone. Lan Qing, the crazy sister-doting demon, went online. "Which role do you want? Brother is here. You can choose." Chapter 475. With Lan Qing's help, Chen Yuan quickly received a call from the cast of Proud Sun, asking Shi Shang to audition for the second female lead role. Chen Yuan hung up the phone and was confused. Are the cast of Proud Sun stupid? They want you to be a foil for a newcomer. Sister Chen, time. What time? Chen Yuan took her phone and sat opposite Shi Shang on the sofa. Audition time. Chen Yuan was speechless. Not only were the cast of Proud Son stupid, but her artist was also stupid. Shang, although this role is the second female lead, the character design is not likable and the ending is not good. Plus, with your status, you don't need to act as the second female lead. Shi Shang was speechless. Her cheap brother got the role for her through the back door. If she didn't audition, she would be wasting the money. Sister Chen, I'm going to be a mascot. Shi Shang had an unfathomable expression on her face. I'm just going to watch the female lead. Chen Yuan analyzed it from various angles, but in the end, she couldn't get rid of Shi Shang's idea of acting for this role. She could only bring her to the audition. The audition process went smoothly. Because this role was special, they couldn't find a suitable candidate. This was also the reason why Shi Shang got the role through the back door. In the original plot, this role was found in a hurry. There was nothing outstanding about it and it attracted a lot of hate. Filming was set to start a week later and the location was out of town. Chen Yuan had other artists under her management, so naturally, she couldn't go with Shi Shang. Therefore, she assigned 2 assistants to her. Shi Shang felt that he could be a rich playboy. 2 assistants were not enough, so he asked Lan Qing for 2 more versatile assistants to show off. Proud Son was an ethical drama about human nature. The first part of the filming was set in D City's film studio. Shi Shang didn't come with the cast. Instead, he came in Lan Qing's private jet. Yes, Lan Qing was going on a business trip in D City for half a month. In fact, Shi Shang suspected that Lan Qing's business trip was fake and that he was really here to watch her film. How could there be such a coincidence? She was filming in D City and Lan Qing was on a business trip in D City. In order to make it easier for Shi Shang to film, Lan Qing even chose the hotel closest to the filming location. However, the director was already in the hotel at that time, so Shi Shang and Lan Qing took advantage of the crew. Baby, what do you want to eat tonight? Lan Qing leaned against the glass door of the balcony. His face was filled with the words pet, pet, pet. Shi Shang paused. Aren't you here to work? You have to eat even if you work. Your brother is not Superman. Whatever. Shi Shang tidied up his clothes. Just as the 2 of them were about to leave the room, a thunderbolt struck and it started to rain. Lan Qing looked gloomy as he ordered the hotel's food to be served in the room. After dinner, Lan Qing rubbed Shi Shang's head. Baby, rest early. I'm going to earn money to support you. Good night, brother, Shi Shang said obediently. After Lan Qing left, Shi Shang called Chen Yuan to report to him. Chen Yuan was busy giving instructions. Shi Shang hung up immediately. Chen Yuan was not even 40 years old. Why was she acting like she was going through menopause? Just as she was about to take a shower, there was a commotion outside. Shi Shang stared at the door for a while. Then, he moved to the door and opened it. There were many people standing in the corridor outside. Their attention was on the 2 girls. One of them was blocking the door, as if she did not want to let anyone in. I like this room. What's wrong with letting me stay here? I'm your senior after all. The girl who spoke was wearing a bright red dress and heavy makeup. Especially the cleavage in front of her chest, it made people want to tear off the obstructing fabric and feast their eyes on it. Miss Meng, this room was given to you by the director. If you have any complaints, you can talk to the director. The girl who was blocked by the girl in red was not angered. She just replied calmly. The girl was wearing sportswear and had a ponytail. She looked very energetic. She had a sweet face with a mole at the corner of her eye. It made her look even more charming. Wan Qiao, the female lead. The girl in red was Meng Shiran, a B-list celebrity. She was expected to enter the A-list this year. It was said that she was here for a cameo. Meng Shiran had someone supporting her. She was famous for being arrogant and domineering. Those who offended her in the industry did not have a good ending. Wen Chao's room was brighter and bigger than Meng Sheran's. Naturally, she was not happy about it. If it was any other artist, they would have given up their room when Meng Sheran asked for it. But Wen Chao was reborn. She swore that she would never give up what belonged to her. Hence, the two of them went against each other. What director? Just give me your room. Meng Sheran looked at Wen Chao with dissatisfaction. Chow Chow, why don't you give your room to Miss Meng? At this time, the people on the first floor were all from the crew. Seeing the two of them going against each other, someone reminded Wen Chao. Meng Sheran was already famous in the industry. But Wen Chao did not even have any works. It was not good for her to go against Meng Sheran. Wen Chao took a deep breath. There's more than one room like this. If Miss Meng wants, you can just change to another one. Why do you have to choose mine? Miss Meng, I, Wen Chao, have not offended you. Are you purposely picking on me? Meng Sheran was embarrassed by Wen Chao's words. Everyone could see that she was picking on her. But she said it out loud. If word got out, people would say that she was bullying a newcomer. It's just a room. You don't have to make it so awkward. There should be another room on this floor. I'll go down and change it for Miss Meng. The crew tried to smooth things over. Meng Sheran felt embarrassed. She grabbed the door handle and refused to let go. I want this room. Then, Wen Chao, you change to another room? Compared to offending Meng Sheran, these people would rather offend the newcomer Wen Chao. Wen Chao looked at Meng Sheran. Meng Sheran stared back at her provocatively. Wen Chao was furious. Fortunately, she was stopped by the people behind her. In the end, Wen Chao agreed to change rooms. However, when the crew went down, they were told that the same room on that floor was already occupied. Now it was awkward. Wen Chao had already taken a step back. If she took another step back, people would think that she was easy to bully. So this time, she did not take another step back. She said that she would not give the room to Meng Sheran unless there was a similar room. Why don't we ask the guest? Someone in the crew suggested. That's the only way. Meng Sheran was hard to please. Even a newcomer was so hard to please. If this newcomer was not the female lead that the scriptwriter specifically wanted, they would not be so bullied. The crew sent out a representative to talk to the guest in that room about changing rooms. The crowd dispersed. Many people saw Lan Sheng standing in front of the door. The crew only knew that the second female lead was taken. They did not know who it was. So they were surprised to see Lan Sheng. Chapter 476. Sister Lan. Sister Lan. Lan Sheng had been in the crew since she was a child. She had been in contact with almost all the crew members. Hence, the senior crew members were familiar with Lan Sheng. Previously, there were rumors that Lan Sheng would be the female lead. But in the blink of an eye, the role was given to a newcomer. The crew members were surprised. They were even more surprised to see Shi Shang here. Hi. Shi Shang leaned against the door and nodded at them with a smile as a form of greeting. Of course, Wen Chao knew this movie queen who was so popular on the screen. Her life goal was to stand on the highest stage in the film industry. Sister Lan, you have a movie in D-City too? Someone asked carefully. Shi Shang raised his eyebrows. Didn't the director tell you? Her room card was given to her by the director. The director came here earlier than the crew. When she and Lan Qing arrived, the director was already there. The room card was given to her by the director. As the investor, Lan Qing naturally received a room card too. The crew members were confused. What did the director tell them? Shi Shang shrugged and kept quiet. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Shi Shang leaned against the doorframe and did not intend to leave. The person who was about to knock on the door hesitated for a moment, nodded at Shi Shang and walked towards the room opposite her. He knocked on the door rhythmically. After a while, the door was opened and a tall figure appeared at the door. The top two buttons of his shirt were unbuttoned, revealing his collarbone. His hair was wet and on his slender neck was a handsome face. The girl who knocked on the door did not expect such a handsome guy to open the door. She was stunned. "What's the matter?" Lon Qing was a warm guy. Even if he did not smile, he was still approachable. That. The girl could not say it. Such a handsome guy, how could she bear to let him change rooms with Wen Qiao? Lon Qing leaned out and saw a group of people in the corridor. His eyes flashed. He saw his sister leaning against the door and looking at them with a face full of anticipation. He reached out to stroke his wet hair. His action was handsome and natural, which immediately attracted the attention of the group of girls behind him. "Nothing, I want to rest." His voice was so gentle. No, my ears are getting pregnant. I'm fine." The girl shook her head with an infatuated expression. Lon Qing smiled, took a few steps back, and slowly closed the door. Just as the door was about to close, he poked his head out and said to Shishang, "Sleep early." "No problem, Your Highness," Shishang replied with a smile. Lon Qing shook his head helplessly and closed the door. With a cracking sound, everyone's hearts, which had been rising, were smashed down. The girl who knocked on the door was dumbfounded. She hadn't said anything just now. No, movie queen Lon actually knew this handsome guy. The people living on this floor should be from the production crew. Could this handsome guy be a newcomer invited by the director? Thinking that they would be able to see this handsome guy on set, the group of people began to look forward to it again. So handsome. Others may not know Lon Qing, but Wen Qiao, who was reborn, knew Lon Qing. She was fortunate enough to meet him once. However, she died early and did not know the relationship between Lon Qing and Lon Sheng. You don't know what to do when you see a man. How much do you need men? Meng Sheran's sarcastic voice broke the silence. Meng Sheran had seen Lon Qing before. This man was very clean, without a single seam. He was also considered a genius in the business world. Before graduating from university, he took over the huge business left by his parents. He was not controlled by anyone and held the real power firmly in his hands. This kind of man was more than just dazzling. Unfortunately, he was not her type. But did he know Lon Sheng? Lon Sheng had been in the entertainment industry since young. Many people in the industry now had to call her senior. She was no exception. It wasn't strange that she knew Lon Qing. "Miss Meng, there are no rooms available now, so you should go back to your room." Wen Qiao was irritated by Meng Sheran's words and her attitude was even more unyielding than before. Meng Sheran's heavily made-up face was full of arrogance and domineering. "I want this room. Don't go too far." Wen Qiao's childish face was suddenly stained with coldness. The two of them started a meaningless quarrel again. The people around tried to mediate but it was useless. In the end, they could only call the assistant director. Wen Qiao was fine, but Meng Sheran could not be offended. The assistant director happened to be in the hotel and quickly took the elevator downstairs. The assistant director was a lean man with black-rimmed glasses. His appearance was average and his suit was very formal. He looked very cautious. From the elevator, they had to pass by Shishang's room. Seeing the person leaning against the door, the assistant director's expression changed slightly. "Miss Lon, did I disturb you?" "No, it's just that you're disturbing our crown prince." Shishang gestured with her chin towards the opposite room. When they came over, the director and assistant director received them together. Naturally, they knew who the prince was. It was really unexpected that the movie queen with no background in the industry was actually the miss of the Lon group. The assistant director looked at the opposite room and bowed slightly to apologize. "Sorry for the trouble, Mr. Lon. I will solve it immediately." With the assistant director's help, the quarrel stopped immediately. If Wen Qiao was just an ordinary newcomer, he could totally ignore her. But Wen Qiao was the female lead chosen by the scriptwriter. Even if she was still a newcomer now, what about after the movie was released? After a while of mediation, the assistant director finally arranged Meng Sheran to the director's floor. This arrangement was actually a bit inappropriate. After all, the movie queen and the CEO of the Lon Group still lived on the staff floor. But the assistant director had no choice. When Meng Shi-ran made a scene, she was simply a troublemaker. He could not afford to offend her. In the end, the assistant director apologized again to Shi Shang and asked her to pass on the apology to Lan Qing. After observing Shi Shang's expression, he went upstairs. After Meng Shi-ran left, the others also dispersed. When Chao stood in front of the door and looked at Shi Shang, Shi Shang's lips curved into a smile. His smile was not reflected in his eyes at all. He just looked at her calmly, cold and gloomy. When Chao could not help but shiver. Her expression changed slightly. She remembered that her role was supposed to be hers. In her previous life, she used this role to go straight to the international stage. Her path to stardom was unimpeded. She was famous both at home and abroad. Although she felt sorry for her, she needed this role now. She was already so famous, one less role should not be a problem. When Chao pressed the doorknob, pushed the door open and blocked Shi Shang's gaze outside. If there is a chance in the future, I will make it up to her. Asterisk little fairy, I want milk-flavored tickets today, cherub. Why don't you go to heaven? Little fairy, I came down to earth to see you guys. Cherub. Let's vote. Chapter 477. The next day, Lan Qing went back to the company. He was a busy man. Before he left, he asked the 4 assistants to take good care of Shi Shang. Other than Xiao Bao and Xiao Fu, who were often sent to follow the original owner, the other 2 assistants were also very familiar with Shi Shang. All of the original owner's contracts and matters were handled by them. Lan Qing's task was to follow the original owner's movements around the clock. Sister Lan, this is today's schedule. Xiao Bao was a boy. He was efficient and cute, making people feel comfortable just by looking at him. I'm not going to the opening ceremony, Shi Shang said without raising his head. Ha! Xiao Bao was confused. He's not going to such an important event? Shi Shang tapped on his phone as if he was going to break it. They dared to replace me with the female lead. Why can't I give them a hard time? Xiao Bao stretched his neck to look at Shi Shang's phone. What kind of game is Sister Lan playing? It's too cruel. Xiao Bao thought for a while. I'll tell Brother Liang and Sister Mei. Brother Liang and Sister Mei were the 2 assistants that Lan Qing wanted. Shi Shang didn't know their names, so he just let them call him that. Well, he still had to tell Sister Chen. It seemed like he and Xiao Fu had the lowest status here. Xiao Bao was very happy to have a friend who would go through thick and thin with him. Don't tell Sister Chen, or I'll deduct your salary, Shi Shang said faintly just as Xiao Bao was about to leave. Xiao Bao was speechless. Even if he didn't tell Sister Chen, she would know after watching the news. Wasn't he just deceiving himself? In the end, he would still be scolded. Obviously, Xiao Bao underestimated Shi Shang's means of avoiding scolding. After the news was released, Shi Shang ordered all 4 of them to turn off their phones. Chen Yuan's phone couldn't be called at all. If it weren't for Chen Yuan, she would have flown over to teach Shi Shang a lesson. The opening ceremony of Proud Son was so important, but she didn't go. She didn't even pick up her calls. Simply, Shi Shang stayed in the hotel and played games for several days. She didn't go to the set until the director came to inform her that she had a part to play. Liang Guo and Mei Jie were professional assistants. They were all dressed in black and wore sunglasses. When they stood behind the Shi Shang, their aura. How was she here to be an assistant? She was here to cause trouble. The assistant director who came to pick her up was shocked by this scene. Why did it seem like this person did not come with good intentions? He didn't attend the opening ceremony, nor did he show up for the next few days. It wasn't that the assistant director was imagining things. After all, she was the female lead of this movie. It was reasonable for her to explode when a newcomer suddenly stole her role. Miss Lan, we are now shooting a scene between the female lead and the male lead. It will be your turn later. You should rest and put on makeup first. With his chin held high, Shi Shang led a few people into an independent dressing room. The staff of the theater immediately exploded. That was movie queen Lon, right? I think so. Previously, they said that she lived on the same floor as our crew, but she never appeared. I thought they were talking nonsense. I didn't expect it to really be her. Who is she playing? Now, there is only one role that we don't know. Are you kidding me? That role is not very good. Wen Qiao listened to the staff's discussion. Her eyes flashed, and then under the director's shout, she walked towards the spotlight. After Wen Qiao was done, it was Shi Shang's turn. Shi Shang's character was not very good. Drug-taking, fighting, rebellious. He was the kind of bad example of a little bastard. The gangster's makeup was heavy, and his hair was messy. His leather jacket, rivets, and tight pants made a clanking sound when he moved. Shi Shang was quite curious when he put it on. What a rebellious girl. The male lead was the popular movie king Zhang Baiyu. Oh right. And it was the scumbag that the female lead entrusted herself to in her previous life. Little Shang, you look. Zhang Baiyu looked at Shi Shang from head to toe, and couldn't help but smile. It's different from the way you used to be. Zhang Baiyu and the original owner used to work together, so they were familiar with each other. Shi Shang glanced at him. It's none of your business. Zhang Baiyu was famous for being a playboy. As long as it was a beautiful girl, he would flirt with her, and gossip would spread everywhere. It's better to stay away from this kind of man. I don't want to use him as a sacrifice to my sword, and dirty it. Zhang Baiyu choked on Shi Shang's words. His facial expression was a bit stiff, and finally, he pretended to be relaxed and shrugged, and turned to talk to the director. After Zhang Baiyu finished, the director called Shi Shang over to talk about the role. Miss Lon, I'm deeply sorry for what happened before. But as you know, the scriptwriter of this movie, AI Weici, has full power to decide the role. The director was a little plump and serious. His words were clear, but they were mostly polite. Shi Shang looked indifferent, and no one could tell whether he was happy or angry. Director Zhang, I just got in through the back door. You don't have to explain so much to me. Director Zhang. You got in through the back door, but you have the ability. I have to say it. Then I'll talk about the role. Director Zhang began to talk about the role. Shi Shang's face was full of impatience. Seeing Shi Shang's look of looking at an idiot, Director Zhang couldn't continue. His good impression of Shi Shang in his heart dropped. This girl used to be easy to talk to, but when she became a movie queen, her temper became so weird. Let's start. Director Zhang suppressed the anger in his heart, and finally ended the topic and began to shoot. Shi Shang's role was to be arrogant and domineering, and to have the feeling that she was the only one in the world. Shi Shang played the role as herself. Zhang Baiyu had several NGs because of her. Can you do it or not? In the end, Shi Shang's patience was worn out, and he lost his temper. How long has it been? How many more NGs do you want? Zhang Baiyu's face turned ugly. He didn't know Lan Shang's temper was so bad before. Director Zhang. Wasn't that his line? Did this movie queen eat explosives today? Zhang Baiyu continued to NG several times, and Shi Shang wanted to slap him to death. Zhang Baiyu wanted to cry, but no tears came out. It wasn't his first time filming with Lan Shang, and he didn't think this girl was that good before. But this time, he couldn't control the scene at all. Her aura was too strong. Xiao Bao, where's my phone? Shi Shang shouted outside the studio. A group of people looked at Shi Shang in confusion, not knowing what she was going to do. Xiao Bao handed the phone to Shi Shang under everyone's strange gaze. Shi Shang unlocked the phone and looked at the signal. There was only one bar, and he looked up and asked, "What's the Wi-Fi password?" Everyone. What was the movie queen trying to do? Was she going to broadcast the movie king's NGs? Xiao Bao immediately gave the password. Shi Shang found a place to sit down and looked up at Zhang Baiyu, who was still standing under the spotlight. She seemed to be the arrogant and domineering hooligan in the movie, and her words were sharp and mean. Zhang Baiyu, I hope you can find your groove after I finish playing the game. WTF. Game. Everyone was honored to hear the background music of a popular mobile game from Shi Shang's phone. Everyone, movie queen, you're wrong. Chapter 478. Everyone was speechless as they watched Shi Shang play the game. They thought that she was going to stream Shi Shang's NG, but it turned out that he was just playing games. Playing games during working hours? Director, can't you do something about it? Director Zhong was speechless. Director Zhong asked everyone to take a break and took out his phone to call Chen Yuan. He suspected that she was here to take revenge on him. He tried to sound Chen Yuan out in all sorts of bureaucratic ways, but to no avail. The atmosphere in the crew was extremely strange. It was not Shi Shang's fault. She was not the one who NG, so they could not blame Shi Shang. They could only look at Zhang Baiyu. Zhang Baiyu was at the same level. Why couldn't you do it? Zhang Baiyu's expression kept changing. It was extremely rich. Wen Chao stood at a distance and felt a little happy. She was happy to see the man she loved so much to be embarrassed. Sister Lan, Sister Chen is calling. Xiao Bao held up his phone. Pick it up. Shi Shang's fingers moved quickly. I'm not free. Xiao Bao was speechless. You're playing games and you're not free? Sister Chen, Sister Lan said she's not free. Xiao Bao told the person on the phone. Chen Yuan asked Xiao Bao to put the phone to Shi Shang's ear. Miss Lan, what are you doing? Chen Yuan tried to suppress her anger. The director just called me blah blah blah. Are you listening to me? What are you doing? Why are you so noisy? Killing people. Shi Shang spat out 2 words. Xiao Bao's hand trembled. He could imagine Sister Chen's angry face. Finally, Chen Yuan hung up the phone in a fit of rage. Shi Shang's game was also finished. Seeing the word victory on the screen, Shi Shang's mood suddenly improved. She did not play for long. Director Zhong saw her put away her phone and quickly asked the crew to start shooting. This time, it was much smoother, but Zhang Baiyu was still suppressed. Finally, Shi Shang did not want to shoot anymore. He waved his hand and went back to the hotel with his assistants. What a show-off! Wen Chao's manager Fong Liang murmured as he watched Shi Shang leave. Wen Chao smiled and didn't say anything. One day, she would stand at the same height as her. Since Shi Shang refused to shoot, Director Zhong had no choice but to shoot Wen Chao and Zhang Baiyu first. Zhang Baiyu lost face in front of Shi Shang. Previously, he did not get along well with Wen Chao. When they were filming together, he started to suppress Wen Chao's scenes. Wen Chao was stopped several times. After the 10th or so NG, Director Zhong got angry and shouted into the loudspeaker, "What's wrong with you two, Wen Chao? Why are you so stiff? He's someone you like, not your enemy. Are you trying to kill him?" "I'm sorry, Director." Wen Chao apologized politely. How could the director not see that Zhang Baiyu was suppressing the scene? But with Zhang Baiyu's status, it was obvious who the director was helping. Director Zhong was also famous in the circle. He was already unhappy that the female lead was replaced. Now that the replaced female lead was finding fault with him, he was even more unhappy. The unlucky one was Wen Chao. What's the use of apologizing? If you can't pass today's scene, don't even think about going home. Director Zhong said. The staff immediately complained. Shi Shang and Zhang Baiyu wasted a lot of time just now. Now, they wasted so much time again. It was almost 11 o'clock at night. Even if they passed today's scene, it would be early in the morning. There was still another scene tomorrow morning. Don't even think about sleeping tonight. Wen Chao sensed the staff's emotions and asked Fong Liang to buy supper outside. The staff's emotions calmed down a little. The next day, Shi Shang came to shoot Chen Xi's scene. It was a fighting scene. Director Zhong wanted to let a stunt double do it, but Shi Shang refused. She had fought more than he had eaten. This body was very flexible since she was a child. It was just a few moves. There was no need to use a stunt double for that level of fighting scene. Director Zhong was a little worried at first, but when he saw Shi Shang's movements, he completely forgot about his worries. The martial arts director beside him nodded. This is a talent for martial arts. Shi Shang did a handsome side flip and stood firmly on a pile of debris. The steel pipe in her hand slashed down diagonally, creating a sharp sound in the air. The metal objects on her body clanked. The girl's eyes were sharp. Blood slowly flowed down her arm that was wrapped with all kinds of accessories and dripped down the steel pipe to the ground. The person behind her fell to the ground with a plop. The whole set was silent. God, so cool. No one knew who broke the silence first. Cut. The director came back to his senses and quickly shouted cut. This one passed. Sister Lan. Xiao Bao and Xiao Fu quickly surrounded her. Are you hurt? Shi Shang threw away the steel pipe in her hand and shook the red liquid on her arm. She took Xiao Bao's towel and wiped it. She raised her eyebrows at Xiao Fu. Girl, do I look like I'm hurt? The extras on the ground. I'm the one who's hurt. Director, do you have any medical fees? The kick is so painful that I can't get up. Sister Lan, you were so cool just now. Xiao Fu worshipped her. That elegant movement, sharp eyes, bright short hair, it felt like she was in a foreign film. So cool. Shi Shang brushed her hair in front of her eyes. I've always been cool. Sister Lan is the coolest. Xiao Fu worshipped her blindly. Xiao Bao reminded her, Sister Lan, let's go down first. The director is changing the scene. Shi Shang went down and saw Wen Qiao standing beside the director, looking at her. Shi Shang raised her chin and whistled at her. The female lead was stunned by my handsomeness. Very good. This achievement was done well. Shi Shang's actions caused a few staff members to exclaim in surprise. Wen Qiao's face was expressionless, but her eyes were burning with fighting spirit. No wonder she's the best actress. Looks like I have to work harder. In the next few days, Shi Shang was in charge of several fighting scenes. During this period, she gained N+1 die-hard fans from the crew. Chen Yuan called several times a day. Shi Shang suspected that she was going to climb out of the phone and strangle her. Shi Shang tortured Director Zhong in different ways, either asking for more scenes or less scenes. Of course, it was not directed at Wen Qiao, but at herself. What she said was very reasonable. Even the scriptwriter AI Wei Si could not refute. AI Wei Si. It's useless to refute anyway. You don't want to add scenes for her? She can do it herself. When she acted directly, and the other party could be led by her, as if they had rehearsed the lines before. It was amazing. The effect of her acting was better than his script. I'm regretting it now. AI Wei Si looked at the handsome figure on the screen and sighed. AI Wei Si's Chinese was not very fluent, with a strong Western accent. Her acting was very good. If she was the female lead, it would be better. However, AI Wei Si thought too much. The only reason Shi Shang was able to act so well was because this character's setting suited her taste very well. If she really had to play such a sullen role as the female lead, Shi Shang said, I can't do it. Chapter 479. Shi Shang's last scene needed to be shot in the wild. The male and female lead were being hunted down. Coincidentally, Shi Shang's character encountered them. In order to protect the two of them, she fought alone in the rainy night and died. The director waited for a long time for the heavy rain. Shi Shang was still wearing the leather jacket, with clanking metal objects hanging on his body. Xiao Shang, try to pass it in one take. Director Zhong had a love-hate relationship with Shi Shang, but from the way he addressed her, it was obvious that he still liked this sarcastic actress who always stole his lines. I'm fine with it. Shi Shang moved his neck and glanced at Wen Qiao and Zhang Baiyu, who were not far away. As long as they can keep up with my pace, I'll pass it in one take. Director Zhong was speechless. She was still so annoying. He held an umbrella and went to negotiate with Wen Qiao and Zhang Baiyu. "Miss, take some medicine to prevent catching a cold." Mei Jie handed the medicine to Shi Sheng. It was raining so heavily and they still had to fight and kill. They had to take precautions. Shi Sheng glanced at Mei Jie, curled his lips and took the medicine. "Sister Lon, be careful later. It's so dark and dangerous." Xiao Fu reminded Shi Sheng worriedly. "Don't worry, even if they all die, I won't die." Shi Sheng winked at Xiao Fu. After Director Zhong negotiated with them, the shooting officially began. Wan Qiao and Zhang Baiyu were shot first. The place was an abandoned construction site. They had to run out of the unfinished building and then be surrounded by people. They had to fight first. When the male lead couldn't hold on anymore, it was time for Shi Sheng to appear. The martial arts actors were all a bit afraid of Shi Sheng. Her punches hurt a lot, but they wouldn't hurt the vital parts. Shi Sheng dragged a rusty steel pipe and rushed out of the rainy night. The light shone on her figure, making her look like a ghost. The sound of metal clanking was hazy in the rainy night. It was somewhat unreal. When they saw her figure, she had already rushed over. The steel pipe swung down and cut past one of the people's ears. But from the camera, she hit his body. After some processing, it would be even more perfect. As the rain poured down, the girl waved the steel pipe as if she didn't know exhaustion. Her body and face were stained with blood. She pulled Zhang Baiyu up from the ground while Zhang Baiyu supported Wen Qiao. "Let's go," the young girl roared. "What are you going to do?" "It's none of your business." Shi Sheng pushed them away, his eyes full of hatred. "From now on, I don't owe you anything. Take your woman and get lost." Zhang Baiyu hesitated for a moment, but still brought Wen Qiao away. However, Wen Qiao suddenly let out a scream. Her body went limp and she fell to the ground. Shi Sheng was standing right beside her. She conveniently pulled Shi Sheng. Shi Sheng staggered. She was surrounded by dense, sharp steel bars. She quickly used a steel pipe to support herself and jumped to a safe place. However, her forehead was still scratched. This was not something that should happen in a movie. After the Shi Sheng landed, the staff exclaimed and quickly ran over. When the light came on, Wen Qiao fell to the ground, covering her foot with a painful expression. What happened? Director Zhong also came over and shone the flashlight on Shi Sheng. "Xiao Sheng, are you okay? Are you hurt?" Xiao Fu and Xiao Bao also squeezed through the crowd. "Sister Lon, her forehead is bleeding." Once they heard that Shi Sheng's forehead was bleeding, most of the people gathered around her. Director Zhong saw this and could only care about the heroine. "Where are you hurt?" Director Zhong asked someone to help Wen Qiao up. "Something bit me." Director Zhong frowned and hurriedly asked someone to help her into the shed. Shi Sheng was also crowded into the shed. He first changed his clothes and then treated the wound on his head. The wound was not very serious, just a scratch. When Shi Sheng came out, Wen Qiao had already been sent away. It was said that she was bitten by a poisonous snake and was poisoned. "Why is there a poisonous snake here?" Shi Sheng frowned and asked Xiao Bao, who was standing behind him. Xiao Bao scratched his head. "There is a snake farm nearby. It probably escaped from there." Director Zhong sent someone to check the surroundings and purposely sprinkled sulfur. Maybe the sulfur was washed away by the rain. I don't know what Wen Qiao was thinking. At that time, Movie King Jiang was closer to her. Why did she come to drag Sister Lon? Xiao Fu complained. If Sister Lon was not good at fighting and reacted quickly. Xiao Fu did not finish the sentence, but everyone knew. If not for Shi Sheng's quick reaction, she would be lying in the hospital now. Her survival would be a problem. Wen Qiao, whether you did it intentionally or not, this feud is set. Wen Qiao was hospitalized. These few scenes could only be delayed. How did the public know about this matter? Of course, the main focus was not the newbie Wen Qiao, but the safety of the crew. In the end, It somehow involved the whole industry. This matter caused a lot of commotion. The news of Shi Shang's injury was suppressed by Chen Yuan, or else this matter would be blown up. However, Shi Shang was scolded by Chen Yuan again. In the end, after confirming that it was only a minor injury and she would recover soon, he hung up the phone and called Director Zhong to communicate. Wen Qiao was discharged from the hospital after the wound on Shi Shang's forehead scabbed over. The first thing she did after leaving the hospital was to apologize to Shi Shang. Xiao Fu blocked her at the door of the hotel room and rejected her firmly. Sister Lan is resting. She has no time to see you. Yo, isn't this our female lead? What's wrong? You caused Miss Lan to be injured and still have the nerve to disturb her rest. How shameless! Meng Shiran, who was wearing a red dress, came to this floor. Seeing Wen Qiao standing at the door of Shi Shang, she immediately mocked her. Since the fight for the room last time, Wen Qiao and Meng Shiran had been on bad terms. Wen Qiao always felt that she came back for revenge. She was full of resentment and was unwilling to give in. This could be explained as being young and aggressive. She would only smooth these edges when she suffered in the future. Wen Qiao looked at Meng Shiran without saying anything. After a while, she nodded at Xiao Fu. Then I'll come back later. Tiske, such a thick skin. Meng Shiran was still adding oil to the fire. Miss Meng, if you have time to argue with me, you might as well use it to practice your acting. Wen Qiao. Meng Shiran was like a cat whose tail was stepped on. Her voice immediately became shrill. Xiao Fu frowned and closed the door, blocking their voices outside. After that, Xiao Fu heard that Meng Shiran slapped Wen Qiao, and Wen Qiao's face was swollen. This scene really couldn't be filmed anymore. Director Zhong was furious. On the other side of the crew, there were indecent photos of Jiang Baiyu and the crew having sex in the car. No one knew who was behind this, but it was quite a big deal. Bad things really came one after another. The progress of the whole crew was delayed. Shi Shang's wound on his forehead was almost healed. She received a call from Lan Qing, who was almost done with his work and would be back in a few days. He asked her to go out for a meal. She touched her forehead and felt that there shouldn't be anything wrong, so she went to meet him. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.